How's everyone doing? Welcome to another episode of the Truth of Therapy Sessions. What are we on now? Episode 50. Halfway to the century. Excellent. We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, guys, I've got a special show for you again. In the spirit of the previous one where I had the guys at Conspiracy Pilled on. I've decided to get my little book out. Had basically backtracked through all the podcasts I've been on, trying to get other people onto my podcast instead. You know, a bit of a tit for tat situation. And many people have graciously accepted. And today I've got the guys from the Sabbath at Midnight podcast. I've been on there a couple of times. You may remember we discussed the clowns to begin with. And then we had a bit of an episode about the Hat Man specifically a couple of weeks later as well. And these guys have been absolutely crushing it since I last left them, and they've been getting one guest after another. It's been pretty cool. I think they're up to episode 50 themselves now, or something similar, which is a pretty great benchmark to reach. So they've agreed to come and join me. I've got Dom and Lionel here. I think Dom's having some trouble with trying to connect to the stream, but he will be with us as soon as he can. So if I share the screen with you guys here, and I'll show you what I can see, we'll open up Skype. And yeah, we're good to go. So how are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. Well, I mean, Dominic is still getting his whatever his technology together, but I'm doing good. It's been I don't want to be all cliche. This is going to be a new year, new me. But yeah, I had a rough year last year and the year before that, and I just try to get better every year. And I think we should be doing it all year. But it's another story for another time. But yeah, just living life, trying to survive, make money like everybody else, going to work, working a lot, work's getting better, work's getting busy, just paying attention to all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world. We got, the Jews with the going to, find the, Hamas, and that's going off right now, and America's going off, and all around the world, stand for this, stand for that. So that's pretty interesting how that's coming back in. And then I think it was on New Year's, there's that rumor with Miami, a bunch of giant Nephilims running around the mall too. So I mean, it's like it's kind of like you're watching the news in one of those Marvel movies, the crazy stuff that's going around. So I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We got the Epstein logs coming out. I mean, they did come out, and I mean, on and on it goes. This is all like within 2 weeks, I think all this stuff is going down.
Yeah.
The New Year's is popping off just right, and it's a free movie to top it all off. It's happening in real life. You don't have to pay for it. We're living it. So.
Well, yeah, it's definitely giving people like me and you some content to sink our teeth into, isn't it? And to keep the content rolling. But yeah, it's one hell of a way to start the year. Aliens are here straight away without just no messing around. Boom, giants walking around. Maybe we could get into that today. I know people do want me to start talking about this, to be honest. Looks like recording started by Lionel. You recording this? Yeah, sorry, just came with a random message, but that's cool. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. But yeah, interesting start to the year straight out of the bat. This thing happened is it Miami? Is that where it is? In Florida? I watched a video about it.
I don't know if it was in Miami or not. I know it was in Florida though. I do know.
Right. I remember I watched a video about it yesterday where some guy compiled all the evidence we have so far. You know what I mean? All the videos that people have released. And from what I'm gathering, it seems like there was an unprecedented response of every single police officer in the area to go to this one place. Was it a mall or something like that?
It was a mall. And, the mainstream story, I feel like they do it on purpose to tell you that it's not what it was, because the cover, like, I could find a better lie of a cover up. They're saying it was kids with sticks, whatever that means. What kind of sticks? Boomsticks, wooden sticks. But that it's so ridiculous. The presence of you have to be an idiot to be, okay, that makes sense. No, like you never get that many cops called for kids with sticks. So it's kind of like they're doing it on purpose. I don't know if someone's working there and saying, hey, take a hint. But it's usually like that, when something, for example, the Roswell crash, nothing about it looked like a weather balloon, So I feel like they do it on purpose. But that's the story. And I do believe people that are coming out, they say there was like giants running around in the room, like in I guess in the room, sorry, in the mall, and they were like disappearing and reappearing, like getting closer, getting further away. To me, that's like some kind of hologram, or maybe they're testing out all that stuff. And by the way, Dom just walked in the room, and he's not going to be on camera though because his computer's not working. But anyways, yeah, I think it's a hologram, my personal opinion, with that whole thing at the mall. It's very intriguing to say the least. I mean, even if it's not what that is, it's definitely something that they're trying to cover up. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is, but if that's the case, interesting.
Hands down, I mean, people were saying nobody could leave without their phones being checked first. Any video had to be deleted. And that's basically why they surrounded the area to make sure nobody had any evidence about it. But it's kind of like at the same time, I felt like they were playing that game where now they want people to know about this, but they're just officially not going to cover it. You know what I mean? But it feels like they want people to know about this because immediately after this event, I think people were showing images of Twitter trending, and Nephilim's right up there at the top, next to Antichrist and aliens, you know. And to have the word Nephilim go on mainstream is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, they're using the word, they're using the terminology.
Yeah.
I feel like the devil has to play by certain rules. You know, he has to put it out there. You know what? It's like, how do they say, the best lies in plain sight, or I mean, the best cover up is in plain sight, and they're doing it right there because the story sounds ridiculous, but they're using a very old word, a very ancient word to describe something very ridiculous.
Certainly.
So I think I think there's a connection with that,
I know Tucker Carlson as well started talking about the Nephilim maybe a few weeks ago while talking to Roseanne. And people were furious at me not knowing who that woman was because I made a quick off the comment about her. Roseanne Barr, is that her name?
Oh yeah,
the actress.
Yeah,
And,
she lost a lot of weight, whatever.
Yeah, she was talking to Tucker Carlson, and they were talking about the Nephilim of all things, and it's just bizarre for someone like him, quite a mainstream figure for for normies, for lack of a better term, to use that word, and then here we have at the start of the new year, not that long after, the Nephilim once again is a word that's trending among people over this bizarre event. I mean, from what I saw, the video I saw, the guy was saying he thinks this is like Project Bluebeam being tested in a way. That's kind of like his angle because people were describing these entities as kind of not really you can't really film them very well. They was messing up every time they tried
digital.
to film. Yeah, like a refracted light issue that cameras on the phone couldn't quite interpret very well. So it was like blurry and fuzzy and in and out. But when they looked at it with their own eyes, it was clearly their type of thing. And like I said, moving around in eerie ways. And but the thing is, can we take anyone's word for this? Like, because I saw somebody come out a video and he was saying, yeah, I was there, I saw all this, it was crazy. And then a week later, or a couple of days later, he's recording a video saying, nah, I've never been to Florida.
Yeah, that's true too. I see it both ways. I see it. He's either telling the truth or someone gave him a lot of money to lie about it. I mean,
yeah, there's that too.
I mean, depending how much money is it, like who knows, But Dominic, actually, Dominic's here, so everybody knows that he's here. What do you think about all this?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not gonna throw my hat and say, yeah, these were, some kind of interdimensional beings, because for me, they're not extraterrestrial. They don't come from Zeta Reticuli or Mars or any of that Alberino nonsense. But what I think, watching the video from the guy who said that they seem to be glitching in and out of existence, that's possibly, like you were saying, some type of Project Bluebeam. And people keep showing a video outside of the building from the helicopter, showing a blob of something, dude. You can't even make out what the heck they're looking at. I mean, it looks like a gray piece of garbage on the steps. Like, I don't know.
The one I saw looked very clear. It looked like it was a big, long striding, right? You saw that one, Paul?
I don't know.
Striding.
Yeah. I've seen a few things in the Telegram group. I have this Telegram group with like 600 people in there, and I saw a lot of videos just appear out of nowhere. Everyone saying, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this?" And I've kind of just been sitting on it until now because you never know what's going to come in the aftermath. You know what I mean? But I've seen a few things, and I don't know what to make of it because every time these things happen, the footage is always terrible. It's always terrible.
Ghoul. The one I saw looked like a ghoul with a big old spine on it. It looked like it's striding really long. It looked like Golem from Lord of the Rings, but just really tall. That's what it looked like.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if they're having us on. I don't know if this is another psychological warfare thing as well, and they're purposely trying to, say, aliens are returning or something, and it's all just actors or something. I don't know, but I've seen footage of all the police cars That is a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of
That's a
police
lot of money
cars.
spent. That's a lot of money spent to cover up something for a big distraction. And I just want to throw it out there. Another conspiracy is it's to cover up the flight logs, the Epstein flight logs, man. Come on. How that's going down right now, too.
Well, it's possible that they were using some type of frequency to get these things to appear. Because when I read in Tom Horn's book, I think it's called the Milieu, it talks about a scientific study that was done using certain frequencies, and when they did this, these grays appeared. So maybe it is something psychological that they're using frequencies to open up portals.
Maybe. Honestly, I'm game for it to be anything right now. But what you just said there, Lionel, this being a distraction for something else going on, it kind of it does have that feel to me personally. Like,
That too.
you know, when you don't want the people looking somewhere, bring up aliens. That seems to
Yeah.
be the go-to tactic. You know what I mean? I mean, in what was it? It had that Mexican alien thing not so long ago as well, like that
With
paper.
the little casket things.
Yeah, like a
Oh,
paper mache little doll or something like that. You
hey,
know.
but all the info, I don't know if you can believe this either, but they did test them on the mainstream news, and they said it was a part human, and the other half part of it wasn't. Um, there's no species on Earth that they could get it to. That's what they said when they tested it.
Another Nephilim reference there. Yeah, half
Yeah,
human, half something
exactly.
else. You know, someone's released information about Bigfoot being the same as well. We can see it seems like it's from female humans and something unknown, you know? And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm finding that a lot recently. It does feel like there's a bit of an externalization of the hierarchy or a revelation of the method thing going on, where they are kind of revealing the truth now, slowly, drip feeding it in their own way, hinting, you know, that there's this weird creature in existence that's half human, half something else, you know. We're talking about the Nephilim, obviously, but it's like they're preparing people for it. And my personal theory is that they started to prepare people for this with the clown sightings in 2016. You're going to start having creepy clown sightings everywhere, you know, and now we're seeing it kind of manifest in a more of a realistic term years after the fact, you know. Now the Nephilim are appearing randomly at malls, you know, just like the clowns appeared randomly at forest corners years ago. And that's why I think, personally, just throwing my own 2 cents in there, I think there's definitely some kind of revealing going on. But I also don't know if it's even possible for Nephilim to even manifest physically, because they're stuck in that matrix, that fractal realm, you know, disembodied. So this is why I'm angling towards a some kind of holographic technological game going on as well. But I don't know. I'm rambling here. Have you got any other thoughts on this one?
I mean, I think they can definitely get into this world because if they can possess human bodies, I do believe that the powers that be are creating their own bodies for them. You know, hybrid bodies that they could easily um, possess, and this is just my thought. If they're going to be making bodies like that with the highest technology, I'm pretty sure they're going to make it with genetics as close as it was to when it was alive, so it could, you know, live in it in a. It's a, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you have to put a certain battery in a certain engine or a certain you know, part in a V8 versus a V6, and I don't think the human body could because if you notice when these demons take over the body, a human body kind of starts like decaying right away, almost like the body's not fit for the soul, you know. So I think they're making bodies for them, like cloning bodies, creating bodies in labs, so they could possess those and be closer to what they were when they were alive. And who knows what kind of technology they have to, you know, to appear or reappear up in this dimension. You know, that's just
Yeah.
me talking. I do believe that they're gonna be able to reveal themselves. I do. They think they can get to it.
Well, let's look at that. Let's, you know, zoom in on that. These entities exist in another time, in another realm, another dimension, transdimensional, interdimensional entities. We look in the Bible, you look in Jude, and that passage talks about how the angels left their first estate, spiritual beings. They left their orchitarian. They changed their heavenly clothes for physical clothes of the earth. Now, what is it not to say that these entities cannot do the same thing? They change their ethereal clothing for physical clothing, and they manifest in this reality. I think that's happening with a lot of these cryptids. I think the alleged Nephilim in Miami, I don't know about Peru. I think that's just a big hoax. And the other kid in Las Vegas, his parents saw the 9-foot tall looking extraterrestrial, interdimensional demons, whatever you want to call them. I think that they're coming through portals. I don't think they're extraterrestrial because I think their world is our world, but just in a different plane. And not to say that they can't traverse to other stars. However, people want to look at that. If a star is 1,000,000 miles away or 20,000 miles away, I think space itself is hyperdimensional. It's just like Chuck Missler talks about. Space is just, we don't really understand it, and I can't take face value of what NASA says about it. I think that there's so many unknowns out there in the universe, and I think our point right now is these entities, these extraterrestrials that people want to call them. I don't call them extraterrestrial. They're interdimensional. They're here on the earth. They jump through portals. It's not magic. It's technology, in my opinion, how they're doing these things. And this is a deep rabbit hole. What do you say?
Well, yeah, a lot of what you're talking about there sounds reminiscent of a lot of what Gary Wayne purports as well. And I understand you guys did just have Gary Wayne on your podcast, didn't you? A bit of a conversation. I think you just released it today. When I had him on mine as well, we were talking about the Oiketarians, this ability for fallen angels to manifest physically in these forms using an Oiketarian. And he also mentioned to me about the pocket dimensions as well, which you kind of alluded to, which I do think explains a lot. From what I understood, from what he told me, and what does seem to make sense to history, is that if a Nephilim creature is beheaded or dies physically, fully dead, its spirit gets trapped on Earth. But if it can make it physically to a pocket dimension through a portal before it gets killed, it can remain there indefinitely and hop back in and out of our world indefinitely. So what he was describing there were these places, these heavens in these pagan religions, places like Valhalla, for example, where the warriors get to go and basically drink and eat to the heart's content in this perfect paradise designed for them specifically by their gods. He's basically describing this as a place where the Nephilim were striving to get to before their physical bodies were wiped off the earth. You know what I mean? And if they can make it there, then they can live forever, basically. And these pocket dimensions were kind of created by the fallen angels, as a place for their children to reside. And it wouldn't surprise me if that what we're seeing, any Nephilim that does manifest, could be a real Nephilim from the ancient antediluvian past that just made it to one of these pocket dimensions and through portals comes in and out of our world. But I think there is something to be said for those that did die. They became demons that are trapped on Earth. They can't make it through anything or anywhere. They're the ones who are doing the possession stuff. But I can believe there are physical Nephilim still capable of coming here through portals. And I think Gary Wayne made sense of it as well, through that way. And because you have all these odd heavens that are described throughout all pagan cultures, you know what I mean? Hades and Valhalla are the two main ones I can think of right now, but even then you have the fairy dolmen portals in Celtic mythology, and these are like supposed to be portals to the underworld. You have the underworld aspect as well. People say, you talk about Hollow Earth, it's a literal place, but what if it's actually like an interdimensional place they're going to?
Yeah.
It all fits into it really well, and it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't Bluebeam that's making these aliens, or interdimensionals, manifest it at this mall. It could literally be these beings just popping themselves back into our world through a quick tear in space-time, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I know Gary Wayne thinks there's precedence for it to be explained that way. And how was your conversation with him, guys? Do you want to share anything that you may have learned from him there, or?
Go ahead, Dominic. I wasn't on that podcast. I was at work, unfortunately. But Dominic, go ahead.
Well, we discussed the interlude between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, that after connecting all the dots and getting the evidence from the Bible and other ancient texts, I think, in my opinion, there was an age, a first world age between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2 that was destroyed by God, because we know in the Bible, and Job, I think it is, hope I'm getting that right, that God created the earth to be inhabited. He did not create it in vain. And when the sons of God shouted for joy when the earth was created, were they excited to inhabit the earth? Once again, this goes back to the old criterion that they become physical and inhabit the earth. And did something happen that God flooded that first world age, destroyed it? Because we see later that the Spirit of God was hovering above the deep, the darkness, and you get into those words in the Hebrew, they have different meanings of evil, sinister, demonic entities were on the earth, and God was restoring it. So it seems like something happened on the earth, and these entities more than likely escaped interdimensionally. Me and Gary touched on the possibility that they may have inhabited other places in the solar system. You don't know, but when you look at going forward from that epoch, you see that in the Sumerian kings list, there are 8 kings, the kingship that descended from heaven. These are the gods that lived for over 200,000 years each, I believe, something like that. I don't have the exact numbers. But when it talks about them, it talks about the 7 sages plus Satan arrived. And when you look at that, you tie the sages into they're all the same thing, as different vernacular for the Anunnaki, for the Shebtu, the Shebeti of Egypt, the Rishi of India, the Quetzalcoatls, the Viracochas, the Nagas. These are all, Quetzalcoatl, all these are the same entities people were reporting around the world in the ancient time that supposedly descended from a kingship in heaven. So me and Gary postulate that this was the order that was brought after the first world age was destroyed. And I truly believe that something did happen. I believe these underwater ancient megalithic cities were a part of the first world age. I don't think it was the time of Noah. I think they're much more ancient than that. I think the pyramids are more ancient than that. What academia wants us to believe. So it was a long conversation with Gary. A lot was gleaned from it. We pretty much come to a conclusion, along with the late Chuck Missler, that there definitely was something on the earth before us, before the day 6 people, and before Adam. There was another, I think it was an angelic race.
Yeah, I think I was talking about the Hindu culture and Hindu history with Gary Wayne. I basically said to him, why does it have such a distinct flavor compared to every other mythology out there on the earth? It's very different. Its stories are wild about gods just going at it with each other. You know what I mean? Absolutely just crazy, extremely explosive weapons. You know what I mean? Insane weaponry and they were just basically just going wild and killing each other like crazy in these massive epic battles and wars. And they were crazy creatures. You know what I mean? These gods were huge, blue-skinned, many-armed, and they all had these crazy spears, weapons, hammers, circular blades that they could just throw at people. They had flying war machines called Vimanas. You know what I mean? And he speculated this is a part of that ancient time that you're talking about there. Like, that's a history of gods when they ruled over the earth with no humans, basically. It was a completely different time to what we understand, and it fills that gap that you're trying to talk about there within Genesis as well. Did you get into that aspect of things?
Of which part? The remaining parts?
Just the India aspect of all Indian history, how it's basic. It seems to be a good insight into that time period you were just describing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gary talked about Shiva, the destroyer god.
Yeah.
How that all ties into the first world age. Because these, like you're saying, there are wars on this earth that are really dated. As you know, there's evidence in the somewhere in the Middle East or in that area. I'm not familiar with the exact geography, but they found a desert with glass, which likened to a nuclear explosion.
Mm-hmm.
When they postulate this could be going back to what the Hindu beliefs talk about. And I think that, you take this destroyer god and you take the seven sages, they're all the same things. They're shapeshifters too.
Mm-hmm.
And they appear to people, a culture in a way that would be pleasing to their eyes and what they imagine what a god would look like. And but yeah, we did touch on India and how that impacted the world. And we basically discussed things that are not really talked about much in circles. We talked about, once again, the time of the angels, which is I think that topic is so fascinating because when people talk about that period, they want to talk about the gap theory. Well, okay, great, but what happened in there? Where in the Bible to say what happened? Ask your fathers of the former time, and they know nothing. And you look into 2 Peter when God says something to the effect that, for this they are willingly ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, alam. Hebrew means very ancient. So even to the writer, this was an ancient time. And it talks about a world that perished in water. And it says perished, that means the whole world died. In Noah's flood, the whole world didn't die. Noah was saved along with the animals and plants and seeds and different things. So that it wasn't Noah's flood. It's talking about a former time when the heavens were of old. So I mean, there's a lot of history in there. I mean, it was a almost a 2-hour long podcast, but it keeps going deeper and deeper the more you want to dig into it.
Mm-hmm. It's a very contentious subject, isn't it? Because a lot of people don't want to think past what Genesis basically tells us. You know what I mean about through Noah's lineage.
I know, but they don't have an answer for example the megalithic structures under the ocean.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm there with you. You're preaching to the choir here, absolutely. And I cover a lot of alternative history theories, and you do get a lot of kickback, unfortunately, from quite a few. I know Gary's just up to his neck in it, and he's constantly fighting to prove his point. You know what I mean? And I think he's done a great job. I can't wait for his new book as well. Is that released yet? Does anyone know?
Nope. Not until I think March.
I think he said there was a problem with paper. Something to do with there's a paper shortage or something like that.
Paper shortage, COVID, and all the other stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, something like that. Well, anyway, fascinating stuff. But guys, I've got you both here now. We've had a bit of an introductory catch up and talk there about some of our what we've been doing and what we've been thinking about. But this is a truth or therapy session, so this is basically a chance for you guys to share your story of how you actually became crazy conspiracy theorists talking about insane theories. How did that happen? How did you get to this point in your life where this is what you're doing now with your amazing podcast? And the starting question really is, and I suppose this can apply to both of you. I'll let you fight it out. Who wants to answer it first? But what was your trigger point? What set you off exactly?
I think for me it was probably seeing a giant boomerang, some type of craft that started it. Seeing giant owls, black apparitions, sleep paralysis. I think that really started everything. That for me, there's a spiritual world. There's a world where these things are spiritual, but they could also slip into our time, into our reality. Because you could feel these things when they come. And but that started me on my journey, finding Christ eventually, and understanding that yes, there is an enemy out there, and his name is Hayal. It's the Satan.
Absolutely. So how long ago was this? How many years has it been since you, I suppose, I don't like using this phrase because it's got negative connotations, but I suppose woke up is the word, isn't it? Obviously, I'm not equating that to being saved. That's something else, and that's the true important thing in all of this. But how long ago was this? How many years ago was it when you started to have these experiences that made you realize it was a true spiritual war?
Oh, dude, that was probably, I don't know, 25 years ago.
So you've been in the game for a while then.
Been in the game for a while, but didn't really start digging into it up into the last 5 years.
Yeah. What was it that set you off in the last 5 years then that made you say, you know what? I'm going to make a podcast about this. What happened?
Well, I think a lot of it was Lionel getting me to do it. I was hesitant. I didn't think I want to really get into it because I know it's a lot of some people don't understand that when you do a good podcast, and you know this, Paul, we're not just winging it, man. You have people like Gary Wayne on. It's not something that you're just going to wing it. It's just a casual conversation. It's a study for you, the host. It's a historical study. You have to go hours and hours studying what your topic is going to be with someone like Gary Wayne or Derek Gilbert or Aaron Judkins or any of these people who are highly intelligent. And so yeah, I went ahead and did it, and I looked at it and said, okay, well, if the word we put out can save one person, then the angels will applaud in heaven for us that we won one soul away from Satan. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's worth it, and like I said, it is a bit of an arduous task to prepare for a particularly well-read guest. I'll admit, because you don't want, as a podcaster, you don't want to come across as ignorant or stupid on the topic matter that you're interviewing them about, do you? But at the same time, we're not the experts, and we've got them on because they are the experts, So you've got to try and find that fine line, haven't you, between trying not to come across that you're trying to show how much you know, and just letting them speak, but then at the same time, wanting to learn from them as well and asking them all the right questions. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure it's a learning experience being a podcaster. Absolutely, it takes a long time to master it. I'll say that much.
Absolutely, and yeah, some people just don't get it. When we ask for small donations, it's not to line our pockets, but it's to put it into the podcast. It's to get more SD cards or software we need, or a better camera, start doing YouTube videos, or other software that you need for video editing. And it's just different things that we want to grow and stuff. And hopefully, that'll come to fruition, that we'll be able to do all the things that we want to do.
Absolutely. So, Lionel, what was your moment that made you start to and Drunk Wedding Photographer in the chat here says, instead of using woke up, use the phrase open your eyes. When did you have your eyes first open? What was it that triggered it for you and sent you down your rabbit hole research?
Well, I started a podcast during COVID because I just thought it was so ridiculous. I can't even say that on here. Sorry.
I don't know. We'll find out. It's fine. Keep going.
I started, that's when I started the podcast. I started by myself, probably about, how long ago, 4 years ago now. I was doing it by myself. I had a couple of people that I tried to get on, but they just weren't on my level of thinking, I guess. I guess some of them trying to be a bunch of leftists, and that's not the kind of show that I'm running, So I did it by myself for a while, a couple of years, and I stopped doing it because it just became too much to do it by myself and try to get people on. And we've been back doing it again for a year and a half, and now I have Dominic with me helping me out. But it started in literally about 3 days after COVID hit. Was at March 2020, March 14th, March 15th. So that was like the first day and it's on my YouTube channel. I used to have a little room in my apartment, and I made it into like a little talk show room with lights and a little couch and a setup. That's how it used to be. So I have a bunch of old ones of the first original Sabbath at Midnight podcast in that little room. But I was kind of in a different mindset. I believed in God. I've always believed in God, Jesus, for a very long time. But back then, I was a little bit more like I would have like a sip of wine during the show, and I started just going off on a left and a right tangent. And sometimes I'd curse. So I was like, this is not the kind of Christian podcast I want to have. I don't want to be cursing and behaving like this. So I stopped doing it for a while because I couldn't do it without getting a little buzz because I get nervous. I would get really nervous doing it because I was on camera live, on YouTube in this little room with a guest. So I just I would have a sip and it wasn't turning out right. So stopped doing it for a while, straightened out my life a little bit, but now we're back. But to answer your question, I believed in all the spiritual realm stuff and the UFOs since I was a kid because my first experience was when I was like 5 years old. I saw like a demonic entity in the mirror in my room. That was the first thing that happened. I mean, sleep paralysis many times, physically thrown off my bed by invisible entities, stuff like that. Seen big triangle UFOs, seen orbs, just a lot of stuff. You name it. Weird, found weird. And this, this used to be this abandoned trailer behind where we used to live. And one day, me and my cousin went in there. And there was a bunch of magazines inside of it, like a bunch of magazines. It was filled with magazines, like People magazine, whatever, just regular magazines, right? And all the pages had 666 written on them, like everyone. Like the front page, the next page, the next page. I probably picked up 20 magazines. So someone took their time to write 666 with a Sharpie on every single page. So that was also weird. So maybe that was a connection to the weird stuff that was happening on the ranch. Because all this weird paranormal stuff would happen on this ranch that we lived at. So we'd find demonic stuff like that. We'd find owl statues with weird stuff inside it, like human hair. But yeah, if my 2 cents is if there is an evil realm, there has to be a good one. And end up finding out that, because you do your research, and no matter what you do, no matter what you look up in this history, everything leads back to every single pagan religion is always at war with one God, which is the Hebrew God. So, my thing is, why are they always attacking the Hebrew God? Well, because maybe that's the truth. So look into it. Boom. Any way I looked, every path led me to Jesus. I was like, I guess Jesus is the man. That's our creator. That's our daddy. And I've been a believer for about 20 years at least. Yeah.
Oh, great story. Yeah, it sounds like you have plenty more weird stories you could tell as well from the sounds of it.
Yes, so many.
Something
just
weird.
Ask if you want to hear one. I'll give you one.
Yeah. Well, what came of this this doll with human hair in it and on the ranch and all these magazines? What was going on there exactly? Did you ever get to the bottom of that mystery?
No, I just found one day I got off the school bus and there was a black statue right in front of the driveway, just peculiar, like someone put it there, standing perfect, like a little Egyptian looking kind of statue, but it was all black. It was evil. So, and she was right. She got it. She broke it she gave it to me. She threw it away. And then I broke it on the concrete outside by myself. And I saw that there was human hair in there.
That is creepy.
To me, that's like witchcraft.
Oh, absolutely. It's voodoo. That's some voodoo stuff. That's definitely some kind of what would you call it? Like using human samples within your rituals. It's definitely something satanic about that, isn't there? Something.
Absolutely.
Trying to make some kind of connection there.
I think the connection there could also be anytime you get hair or fingernails or something like that from people. According to we had on recently Jonathan Dover, the Navajo Ranger. And he talked about how, and the Navajo, they tell the kids not to leave their hair cuttings on, out in the open, fingernail clippings, any urine or feces, because these skinwalkers, these people that do this ritual magic, can use that. And when I was talking about that doll with the human hair, and you tie that into some type of creature that was out there on the ranch, that could have been the Skinwalker. And we did a show recently with Tony Merkel on the Confessionals, and he titled the show Joshua Tree's Skinwalker Ranch. And I think that, yes, that on the ranch we lived on, there was maybe more than one Skinwalkers. There's a lot of things that happened there. a lot of things. It was more intense than Utah Skinwalker.
Yeah,
That's
I'm going to
fact.
be completely honest with you guys here. I am not very knowledgeable on the Skinwalker thing. It seems like everybody's talking about them lately, and I haven't done a
Like
deep dive into it. Could you give
the
me
ranch.
a brief overview of what the Skinwalker thing is?
Oh, a skinwalker is basically like a cursed human through a dark magic has the ability to shapeshift into a to an animal, usually like a wolf man or a wendigo.
Wendigo, yeah.
Yeah, that's a skinwalker. And yeah, and there's also a place called Skinwalker Ranch that has, a bunch of high level government people there doing tests there because they see a bunch of giant werewolves and stuff like that out there. But so there's a ranch named after the creature. The creature is a cursed, usually Native American. It's a Native American lore, I believe. Yeah, so it's a cursed human that can shapeshift into an animal. And from what I know, they either look 100% like an animal or they look like a half human, half hybrid looking animal.
Terrifying stuff. That sounds awful. Well, it reminds me as well. Obviously, I guess the mythos is that a human made a deal in some way to gain this power for their own personal reasons. Usually, I imagine that's what the story goes with, and they have to make a deal through some kind of ritual. I'm guessing is the Native American story. But could it be possible? I don't know. But whenever I hear of like half human, half animal hybrids of any kind, lizard people, dog men, mothman, something like that, um, even the Wendigo is kind of like it's supposed to be like a caribou, half human, half caribou headed thing, isn't it? Of some
Yeah.
kind. I'm not totally sure, but I do wonder: is this maybe actually a remnant of those who mixed their flesh through the mixing of kinds talked about in Jasher just before the flood? It says that there was the mixing of flesh going on during that time, and all flesh became corrupted because they were slapping animals together, creating new weird creatures out of it. And also humans were also mixing themselves with animals as well to create weird hybrid monster creatures. Do you think maybe this whole skinwalker thing might have something to do with that? Maybe just as a off the cuff connection
Oh,
there.
I think it's both. I
Both.
think it's cursed, and then I think, like I said, man, the government's always the government. Whatever you want to call them, the military, the higher ups, the men in black. They, I mean, there was giant bones found around the world, and I'm 100% sure they take DNA out of these bones and they try to remake these things in
Oh
some
yeah.
way, shape, or form. So I do believe they're being made in labs. I do believe they're out there. Ones that have been made recently. I mean, why not? Why? I mean, people are evil, man. They'll do anything to get power. And, if they can make some kind of super soldier that's half wolf, half human, that could tear an army apart in 2 seconds, that sounds like an advantage for them. So that's
Absolutely.
what I think.
It's
That's
great.
what I
It's
think.
great to speculate on that. Absolutely. I mean, Dom, what do you think? What's your take on all that?
I think the Wendigo is, or those creatures like the Wendigo, Bigfoot, Dogman, Pigman, Goatman. There's so many different creatures out there that people allegedly see. I think that some of them could be made in an underground bunker in a dump.
Hmm.
There's a guy out there that talked about this, and he says there's a facility where they create these entities, and they call it the zoo. So it's quite possible, if this is true, these alleged accusations, that the original Bigfoot, for example, their DNA has been manipulated to make other creatures, like the Dogman. The Dogman can be, because the Dogman goes way back to the Egyptian days, goes way back to Marco Polo, goes a lot of history behind the Dogman, Saint Christopher, etc. So I think that these creatures, we'll use Bigfoot as an example. I think that's an interdimensional creature because you see them, people report seeing them, and they kind of just blend into the forest. Like they have some sort of predator-like abilities to go invisible. While others like Jonathan Dover, the Navajo Ranger, talked about how he and his partner tracked the Bigfoot out in the desert, and the footprints just stopped, just nothing after that, just disappeared. And they backtracked, went the other way, see where they came from, and they appeared out of nowhere. So more than likely, These cryptids are from another realm. They're interdimensional, and not to say that some of them weren't shot or captured like the Nephilim, and they're being their DNA is being manipulated to create super soldiers or create more chimeras. Who knows, right?
Well, as it was in the days of Noah, so maybe we're seeing a resurgence of the genetic manipulation going on that was going on during that time just before the flood. I mean, we're talking about stories of people making deals to get these powers, like the Skinwalkers. Well, is that not basically exactly what people may have done just before the flood? Made some kind of deal with a higher entity of an interdimensional nature, and they then therefore were transformed. Maybe we're just seeing the exact same process, just more in a more of a modern sense, perhaps. Absolutely. And the idea that these monsters are being created in underground bunkers, that fits the narrative perfectly, because we know what these people are up to. They've been doing this stuff for a long time. They're always hinting at it in the media as well, that they've been doing something like that. Isn't literally there a film called Cabin in the Woods, which is literally just about that, creating all these monstrous, crazy hybrid creatures to purposefully kill people as a sacrifice to appease the giants, something like that. I think that's pretty much the entire story of that film. Yeah, fascinating stuff. So, just backpedaling a little bit here. So it seems like 2020 was really a huge, well, 2019, 2020 was quite a big period of wake up for both of you. And obviously, that was during a pretty tumultuous time for all of us. The whole world was affected by, that particular crown virus that was going everywhere. Um, and I'm finding, a lot of new subscribers who come to my channel say that was a seriously pivotal time for them as well. That seems to be something that really slapped a lot of people out of the trance. And would you say it's fair to say that was probably a huge thing for you as well?
Yes, I was just look. I have my own opinion on it, and I just think the whole thing was just ridiculous. Just the way everything was, all of it, everything.
Yeah.
There's not one thing about it that I thought was correct. Every single thing was just done so ridiculous that it couldn't even be taken serious at some point. When I'm not saying, may people rest in peace, man, but just the ridiculous 6 feet apart, the mask, it didn't make any sense whatsoever. It was just stupid, to be honest with you. And then they just, I think they made people worse, like
Yeah.
keeping everybody inside. Not people were scared to go out and get their mail. I mean, I knew people that had PhDs and were graduated from Harvard and really quote unquote smart people, doctors that were going outside with like a beehive suit and gloves just to get the mail. I mean, it was really
Oh
it was
yeah.
really messed up. It was like really like what is going like it just showed a lot who people really were. They're either just I just saw that the coward come out of people and then just the psychoness come out of people. I saw the evil come out of people. I saw the good people come out too. You saw the good people, you saw the bad people come out. So that's what I took from it. Saw everybody's true colors. There you go.
Yeah, well, it definitely felt like a wheat from the tares situation. Like we literally saw who would literally sell us out and who would be on our side. The lines were pretty quickly drawn, weren't they, of who exactly we need to look out for now, and who I certainly know who not to trust now. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? And it seems like maybe it was a bit of a tester period as well, even for the controllers. How much can we get away with? How do people react to this type of thing? Ready for round two. I'm hearing some speculation that March might be another event this year of some kind, something similar. We're going to see something weird happen in March. And everyone's always banding some date around somewhere, so I don't know what to make of that. But yeah, I worked in retail during that whole thing, and I did, like you say, I saw the worst of people and the best of people. It was there wasn't as many good people, I'll say that much, but I definitely saw a lot of the worst in people for sure, absolutely. And it's kind of terrifying, isn't it, just how quickly people will flip just based on, first of all, what authority says, and fear, simply just fear, what fear can do to people en masse we got a glimpse there, didn't we? And I'm not looking forward to that happening again. I am not going to lie. Funnily enough, my wife actually mentioned something to me earlier. Apparently, babies that were born during that time period are now going to school. Okay, and they are still in nappies. They haven't quite developed as fast as other children, apparently, from
Wow.
other times. And obviously, they grew up at a time where they were completely isolated, didn't have any human interaction outside of their parents, and when they did see humans, the faces were covered. So they didn't, and reading facial features is like an integral part of a baby's brain development, and it's been taken away from them. And I think we're now seeing the detrimental effects that has had on the minds of these babies now. 4 years after the facts, type of thing. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any opinions on that idea, but before we move on to the next topic, but yeah, that one's a sad piece of news that I heard. Which what do you think of that?
I think from a psychological point, I think you're right on with that. Um, not only the facial recognition, but also having something like that on you can cause further complications to the respiratory system down the line too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the whole thing puts so much fear into people that it caused some type of something snapped in some people, because even today I see people in cars riding with coverings on their face.
Yeah.
I just, so that's psychological damage. These people are psychologically destroyed. And I think for the kids, for them to go through that, and my daughter was in high school during this time, and the social interaction wasn't there anymore. There was no, because see, kids, they need that social interaction. They need that commonality with one another. They need that to see their smiles and see their facial expressions. And it's just like looking at a bunch of drones all day. All you see is eyes. And I think all of this was, it was something that people did perish. I get that. But I don't think the covering didn't do anything to help. I think there's been so many studies on the coverings that they're not effective. And I think it was a first volley to see if they can control people with something contrived for the next event. And there, in my opinion, there will be another one, and this one will be worse. That's coming, because all these disasters are going to be contrived, and be man-made, and be out of evil of see, the man's heart is evil continuously, right? So you got governments that want to control the earth. You got people like Gates that want to start creating Soylent Green, some type of artificial meats, and just a bunch of crazy stuff going on now.
Absolutely.
Coming down the pipe, you've got all kinds of weird things that none of it makes any sense. Cows are causing global warming. That's another scam. There's no global warming. That's a bunch of bogus bunk. When I took geology, we looked at geological cores, and the earth was a lot colder and hotter than it is now. That's been recorded back in the ancient times. What global warming are they talking about? It's just another way that they're going to use to control. It's all about control, control, control.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they keep changing the name, don't they? It's it's not global warming anymore. It's climate change.
Well, and you look at the EVs, right? The electric vehicles.
Yeah.
And Gary and I touched on that in the last show. At the end, we got down to a rabbit hole, but we discussed the EV cars. And how is electricity made on the earth? It's made through oil, gas, and coal. Very little is hydroelectric, water. turbines. So now you got these giant appliances running around the roads. You're going to need to create more energy. More energy equals more gas and more oil. What kind of nonsense are people buying into that these EVs are going to save the world?
What about
absolutely.
the people, the people that put on gas generators so they can charge their Tesla? Oh, that's a good one too. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, there's a bunch. This is these smart cars are just government boxes, if you ask me. It's more tracking, more BS.
I believe personally, I mean, you can switch off a smart vehicle. You can't switch off something that runs on fuel. You know what I mean? You can limit people's freedom by simply just locking down their vehicle electronically if they have a smart vehicle, rather than you'd be hard pressed to somehow stop somebody from being able to drive if they had a gas run vehicle. You know what I mean? I see it more as a control mechanism than anything else. Nothing to do with saving the world or lowering carbon emissions or whatever they want to say. It's definitely more akin to being able to flip a switch and just limit somebody's freedom instantly. That's what I put it down to personally.
Yeah, I see those. I see them everywhere now. California, I see Teslas everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Same here. And I live in a quite a rich area. You know, I don't live in one of the rich houses. I'm in the cheap seats of this estate, but
all good. We ain't rich either.
Yeah, but I'm surrounded by a lot of big houses and a lot of people that are earning over 100K. You know what I mean? They're on a decent wage, and it's upward from there. And they all have Teslas now. They've all installed over the past 5 years charging points in the homes. They're all getting them installed. Every last one of them's getting them. You know what I mean? And all the shops around the area, anyone I've seen within a 10-mile radius, they all have a charging point installed into them now, or they're halfway through being installed. Things are getting pushed more and more that way for certain. Someone actually left an interesting comment earlier, and this is kind of on a similar vein, but I made this video I'm talking years ago. This is like 2015, I think. So almost a decade ago when I think about it. But and it was talking about contactless payment, and there was this advert that was going around showing how people could use their smartwatch to pay for the food, anything and everything, and it was this cheesy advert with some upbeat music in the background talking about how everything's changing for the better, and it's just scene after scene after scene of people using their smartwatch to pay constantly, and it was like a precursor, and I was explaining in my video, this is a precursor to the chip, to the RFID chip. Right now it's on your wrist, soon it'll be in your hand type of thing. And somebody left a comment on that video today saying it's terrifying living through these times, because she said, I remember hearing about all this stuff years ago, and this video's reminded her. But now she's actually living it, because she says the shop around her where she lives has installed a pay by hand till. Okay, where you use the chip in your hand to pay. And she was saying this is clearly a sign of what's to come next. Like, this is going to be a thing now, because they've already created infrastructure to accommodate for it. You know what I mean? Just like they're building the infrastructure to accommodate for electric vehicles, they're now building the infrastructure to accommodate for chipped individuals just out in the open. And I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or heard about that one, but that's something that came to me today, which sent chills down my spine, because it's kind of like you never think it's going to happen in your lifetime. But here it is. It's happened.
No, I think all the McDonald's, some that are around where I work, there's no like humans that work there. There's like one human that worked there, and I was very annoyed. I just wanted to give him or her, it was a her there, and they have these machines you're ordering on there. And it's so confusing, man. It'd be so much easier just to say, I want number one, here's my money. It would not let me do it. I was like, look, man, I can't figure this out. I have to get to work. And I begged him, look, man, can you just please take my order right here? I'll give you money. I'll give you cash. And she did it for me, thank God. But like that, just how it's the same thing, just, put a chip in your arm. You're going to be going to no human stores. There's no one that works at McDonald's, but one person that looks at the machines. And, Amazon stores now, you can only pay with the with the scan of your phone or something like that. You can't pay with cash there. I just saw a video of some old man in the UK. He went to the Amazon store and he wanted to buy a box of strawberries, and all the employees were all programmed like robots. You can't do that. He's like, I'm leaving my money right here on the counter. It's my legal tender. And he left the exact amount of change and he walked out with the strawberries. But like, he couldn't even pay with cash there. They didn't even want to let him pay. You have to pay with the whatever, your Apple Pay or whatever you call it.
It's funny because I don't really remember a time where I carry cash. The only time I end up with cash now is after the holiday season when people are giving me money as a gift. And even then, it takes me a long time to actually use the money, because it is all contactless payment here in the UK now. It really is, and a lot of places just are not cash anymore. Like they look at you funny when you give them cash. They look at you like, "What's this? I haven't seen one of these in a while," type of thing. It really is. Maybe we're a bit further ahead than America. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, it sounds like it, because cash is still king out here, at least in where I'm in California.
No, I mean, there are a few places that say cash only, but these are like people trying to avoid paying tax. You know what I mean? These are like small
Who
companies.
isn't? Who
Yes,
isn't?
exactly. But these are like small companies. You know what I mean? But if you go to anywhere which is like the corporation owned, it is all quickly pay contactless. They make it harder and harder to use cash. Let's put it that way. I am seeing that come about. I mean, I remember last time I paid cash for something, I had a £20 note and didn't have any change because no one pays cash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they struggled to give me change for it. And then like I think I had to buy something else just so they could like give me a bit of money back, in some way, shape, or form. It's like you were not prepared to receive a £20 note. Are you joking? Like this is, and I guess I don't get out much now, so these sudden changes seem drastic to me. But I guess it's slowly been creeping up on us, isn't it? In many ways. I don't know.
You're definitely way ahead over there, because even the grocery stores, man, like Albertsons, Ralph's, you can still pay with the $100 bill and get plenty of change back. So
yeah,
we're not there yet, but we're getting close.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. We're not fully there. Like cash still exists; it's still a thing. I think they're actually coining new cash because we have a new king now. So his face has to go on all the new notes. You know what I mean? So they'll still have cash around, I suppose. But it's kind of convenience is king here in our country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And cash is just inconvenient, which was always the programming. Get rid of that cumbersome cash and just switch to using your phone instead. Sick of carrying around wallets with all your cards. Just get them all on one device, So watches were kind of a fad, I think, years ago. It's all about your phone now. Everything's on one device on your phone. The aim, I believe, is to get that one device inside your body. That seems to be the transhumanist goal, and once you've done that, you have basically just given up everything. You have no freedom now. You're done for, because like I said, yeah, oh, you don't agree with the official narrative. Well, we'll just switch off your chip. Like what are you gonna do now? And yeah, I can see that coming definitely in the future. Anyway, all doom and gloom. I've got another question for you guys. It's kind of rolling off the idea of, when did you guys first, become crazy conspiracy theorists that people couldn't stand listening to? Have you found that since becoming, having your eyes open, let's say, and knowing about all these evil things that happen in the world, and learning about the cabals and the secret societies and the agendas at play, have you found you may have pushed people away or lost relationships as a result of knowing these things, or even talking about these things with people?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I lost people. Think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Think I'm a zealot. Crazy zealot. I mean, you lose friends, and usually they're people that don't believe in God. So, I mean, it kind of connects together. And like I said, especially during COVID, when COVID started, I lost a lot of friends because, you saw their true colors. They wouldn't talk to you without wearing a spacesuit next to you. Like, dude, I don't have AIDS, bro. Like, what? Like, why are you treating me this way? So, I lost a lot of friends during COVID because I chose one way, they chose another way. I believe in God is the only God, and I had people that I didn't know that were spiritualists and New Age, and they believe in crystals and praying to, fairies and stuff like that. So just things like that, I just didn't agree with it. And you try to be nice to them, but then when they try to get you to agree to something, when you believe in God, you can't just deny God to make this person feel okay. So I just hold my ground. Like, no, I don't believe that. What do you mean you don't believe that? No, I don't believe that. Like, that's just pretty much the whole thing.
So did you find, it was more so people finding out you were a Christian that pushed them away rather than being a conspiracy theorist?
Because as a Christian, I was looked at as an idiot because I was using science to behave, like staying home, don't go outside, don't be around your family. Because I'm a Christian, that made me stupid because I went against all of that. So I was just a dumb, cave-minded Christian who doesn't believe in science. is the thought that I got, And then you had this whole thing with the Black Lives Matter start burning down America, then half the world. I didn't agree with that either. So I was also looked at as a racist because I didn't think it was okay to burn down the whole city and loot everything to show that you're mad or upset. It didn't make any sense to me. So I wasn't with that either, especially being in California, very liberal out here. So pretty much whatever the news pushed, I just did the opposite.
Yeah, that's pretty much the right way to go about it. I suppose because it was kind of relatively new for you, obviously being born again, all that, and learning all the truth. When you woke up, it sounds to me it was during a very, very divisive time. So what for me it was like over a decade ago now. So back then it was simply just an extremely fringe point of view to have, and people didn't even argue with me; they just disassociated with me. You know what I mean? It's kind of Paul's lost his mind. Let's just forget about him now. We don't talk to Paul. Don't mention anything to Paul. He'll go off on one. It's that kind of attitude. So people kind of just shut up around me and avoided me rather than argue with me. But it sounds like you were basically thrown into the lion's den in a sense, and there was a lot of people with a lot of opinions during that time period, wasn't there? So yeah, my heart goes out to you on that one. In terms of like lost relationships, I mean, how close were these people that you had to basically cut yourself off from in a sense? Was it close family and friends, or are these just more like people you considered friends but are no longer around? I mean, how bad did it get?
Just a few friends for like 10 years at least. Not like we just don't talk as much anymore because we know our beliefs. I know that this guy believes this, and I just can't break bread with someone I can't get along with anymore. I can't. It's just not going to work out. I'd be going out of my way to torture myself to hang out with this person now.
No, fair enough. Yeah.
And I've worked a lot already, and I'm not going to spend my free time to sit there and pretend I'm going to enjoy talking about, we need to be more gender fluid and open transgender bathrooms. Like, I'm not going to sit there and entertain that just so I could be your friend still. No, I'm sorry. I'd rather be home and eat a steak and go to bed. So, stuff like that, people like that. And then, some of the coworkers that I had just being ridiculous and just coming in with, like I said, with spacesuits on, if you ask me, and goggles. And I'm just like, and they look at me because I'm murdering everybody because I'm not wearing a mask. Just stupid stuff like that. Just people now just kind of like steer the other way. Things like that.
Absolutely. So what about you, Lionel? Did you lose any friends and family when you woke up?
Oh, that's Dominic, by the way. I'm Lionel.
Sorry, Dominic. My apologies. Sorry, that's on me.
I think probably so. People I grew up with in high school, they supposedly believe in God, and it's a funny thing to look at when not just me, when anyone posts anything about God or Jesus on Facebook, no one likes or comments on it. These so-called believers in God don't comment, don't like someone's post on it, but when it comes to a girl half naked, you get all these simps. You have a 1,000 likes and a million comments. For me, did I lose people? Overall, Paul, I have a very, very small circle. So it didn't impact me as much in my personal life. just because the fact that I don't have people around me, a lot of people around me. The only ones nowadays that I really talk to now is people like on our show, Gary Wayne, Vicky Joy Anderson, Karen Wilkinson, just different people that we've interviewed and other guests that we actually, talk. We're actually friends now. I like to surround myself with like-minded people who know exactly what's going on in this world. And if people want to turn a blind eye to what they're seeing now, I mean, that's up to them. I do my part. We put the shows out. People want to listen to them. Great. This goes back to if it saves, one soul, the angels rejoice. Great. And I think overall for me, it's just always keeping a small circle. I don't have, I may have a lot of friends on social media, but people that I actually interact with is very, very small. I'm talking maybe one or two people. That's it. That are in my daily life. That's it.
Well, to be honest, that's good advice for people who do struggle with learning these things. Because I mean, for most people, not everyone's going to go out and start a podcast talking about these things and start to network with like-minded people necessarily in a way where they can communicate with them like we do. Because it's the same for me, I may have lost friends, but I gained new ones with interests more aligned to what I think about, as a result. So it's kind of you lose, God may have closed the door there, but he opened a door over here. You know what I mean? It's that type of thing, and people change. It's just kind of a rule of life, and you've got to kind of, like I say, there are people out there who do think like us, who are into the topics we talk about, and you've just got to go out there and find them. But in terms of personal life, my day to day, my circle's extremely small too, very small. I've got my wife, I have my close family, and I have a handful of friends, that I very rarely even see anymore, to be honest, because we just have our own lives going on. But we do stay in touch, and they know what I believe and what I'm into, and they seem to still accept me and like having me around, which is good. That's nice of them. I'm thankful for that. But yeah, at the same time, I lost. I think I didn't realize this, but I kind of lost my best friend over this of like 20 years. Because I this is the thing about old friends. You have these friends, don't you? And you think it doesn't matter how much time passes. When I see them again, it'll be like nothing's changed. You know what I mean? You have those people in your life where you think like that. And I had a friend who I thought the same. Like I've known him since I was 5 years old. We were inseparable as kids, and I realized that this wasn't the case as I got older because I invited him to my wedding and he said, "No, I don't think I'm going to go. It's all right. I'm not bothered." And I was heartbroken by this. And my wife saw it coming. She never liked him. She was like, "No, I could tell why instantly. I never trusted him." And I realized in hindsight, because of this stuff I got into, he lost respect for me in a way which just didn't seem fair, or it was just kind of unfair in a way. And I think he distanced himself from me without me realizing it, to the point where he's like, I'm just not your friend anymore." And he was quite brutal and narcissistic about it, very unempathetical about the whole thing. You know what I mean? And it's like you think you know somebody, and this, but then when he found out I was, I'm a Christian, I think that was it for him. Then when I think about it, I think he was like, "Oh, Paul's lost his mind. Never mind. I don't need him around anymore." I think that literally, and thrown to one side. And I think a lot of people, my story, because I get a lot of people telling me their story on the Telegram group, and it's very similar. They, as soon as they come out as knowing Christ or something akin to that, people show their true colors to them and they kind of get heartbroken over it, and a lot of people struggle to bounce back from that, I think. And I think there's a lot of people who feel extremely isolated in the truth or culture, if you want to call it anything, who don't have anybody and don't might not even have a small circle, have been completely ostracized, and kicked out of even the smallest circle that they had to begin with because of this stuff. I guess what I'm in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say here is, and ask you guys, do you have any advice for people who may be really in that place of struggling? You've already hinted at, change the people you hang around with is one good piece of advice you've already said. But have you learned anything along the way yourself in your own journey that's helped you deal with the isolating nature of this type of information?
It's not really that hard for me to cut people off that I don't get along with. It doesn't. It's easy for me, to be honest. I'm kind of cold hearted, but I was like, yeah, hey, you don't want to be my friend? That's completely fine. I could get other friends.
Yeah.
And my advice is to not take it personal. Like, who cares? You know, who cares if they don't want to believe in what you believe in, and I don't think believing in Jesus is an opinion. I think it's a fact. So if you don't believe in God, listen to tell you something. I don't get along. I noticed this. I don't get along with people that don't believe in God. Period. I just don't. I can't have a conversation with them. I can't have the same moral view on the world with them. Can't do anything with them with that. I can't hang around with them without disagreeing on something. So I just don't get along with people that don't believe in God. And even to date, like my girlfriend, one of the main things she had to have was to believe in God. There's no way I'm going to date somebody and give my life to who doesn't believe in God. Just like I'm not going to waste time hanging out with people that don't believe in God. So my opinion is to just don't take it personal. Move on. They weren't meant to be in your life anyways, I guess. That's my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, you're I suppose you're quite a strong guy. You know what I mean? Like I said, you have that ability to just not take it to heart and move on, and that's great. Then I suppose in many ways, many people do need to adopt that type of attitude if they're going to get into this kind of information. I can agree. What about yourself, Dominic? Have you learned anything or have any advice for those people who feel isolated and are struggling?
I think a lot of it for people, I'm not saying everyone, I'm saying some people that feel a need to be looked upon as something important. I think a lot of it is it's loneliness. It's a void in them that they want recognition by others. They want to be accepted as by others. And there's a term called self-actualization. And it's a term that basically states that when you reach this plateau, you become comfortable being by yourself. You're happy alone. You understand the world around you. You feel complete. And I think once a person feels complete, that they don't need someone else to complete them, then I think a lot of that unlocks this position where finding people of like minds. When you feel complete within yourself, there's no need to want to force people to be in your life because you have a different belief than they do. If it's believing in God and Jesus Christ, and they believe in, I don't know, Buddhism and praying to rocks or whatever, that all goes away. For me, it all went away many years ago. If someone doesn't have the same beliefs as I do, and believe me, I've looked at everything. I've looked at the Hindu religions, a lot of that ties into other religions like Buddhism and the list goes on and on and on. So many pantheons of gods and all this other crazy stuff. But when you understand history and you understand that these gods are nothing more than just fallen entities, the angels that were venerated back in the old days, the old times, then for me, it's really easy to cut someone off. You want to believe in manifesting whatever you want in your life. I'm going to manifest this today. God's going to help me, the God of the universe. Well, stuff like this, when you understand that people are praying to the universe or praying to Satan, they talk about the New Age stuff, this, I'll send you good vibrations and all this other nonsense, all this New Age garbage out there. So for me, it's very easy to cut people off because I don't need anyone in my life to feel complete. And I think people out there that have this yearning to be accepted, to have a lot of friends, you don't need any of that. You just need self-love. You need to love yourself. You need to feel complete by yourself. You have to have that need that you don't need anyone to complete you. This goes along with the relationships. People get into relationships because that other person, they complete me. Well, guess what? If you need someone else to complete you, you're not a complete person. You're going to have a lot of issues. Then you have codependency. Then you have all other things that go along with that. So I think, so my parting shot here is love yourself first. And when you get there, when you feel complete being by yourself, now I'm not saying you're going to be isolated like a hermit. I'm saying that you don't need anyone to complete you. You feel completed already. If someone comes into your life that's like-minded, it's a bonus. And that's the way I approach things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do also believe that I think people are just picking the wrong partners, because I also don't believe it's good for just anybody in general to be alone for the rest of their life. As the Bible said, he made Adam, and it wasn't good for man to be alone. I think that's also true too. But I think people just, I think it's funny how people like I hear these stories with my friend, oh, I just met this girl, man, she's perfect for me. How'd you meet her? Oh, at a nightclub, and I slept with her the same night. I'm like, bro, that was not set from God. How did God bless you with a one night stand? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Those are the bad decisions that people get in. But yeah, you have to be like-minded, and with the person that you're with, definitely have to be like-minded, and just stop making decisions, I guess, off of impulses. You know, a lot of people have a lot of damage, I would say, and they just keep dating the same person over and over, from what I see with people around the world. And because I work at a gym, and I see a lot of different people come in, people divorced 3-4 times. I'm like, damn, stuff like I just like, they open up to you, they tell you, and just people just, they don't get to know anybody before they, pull the trigger, I guess, on making them their girlfriend. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, relationships is the truth. There is a whole other kind of worms, really, it really isn't, intimate relationships. I mean, we're already an extreme minority in terms of being a truther. It's impossible to meet, obviously, a partner who may necessarily have similar ideas or concepts or thought processes. I mean, I was blessed to meet my wife. I met her I did meet her through a dating app, actually.
Which one? I'm curious.
It was actually Hinge, I think it was called.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Yeah, and it's you've got to, you leave questions and people have to answer them or something like that. And anyway, I won't get into that now, but
I'm just curious. Out here, there's like that Christian mingle thing out here. I think a lot of people use that.
yeah. I mean, I don't really. It's been years now since I've gone into anything like that. But it's funny what you were saying there, Dominic. You've got to kind of be happy with yourself before you get in a relationship, type of thing. And that's basically what I did for years before I met my now wife. I was single for a long time, a long time. And I was doing self work. I was working on making myself better, being happy with who I was, getting myself into a position where I felt as though, in a way, I was ready to bring someone else into my life, because I had a lot of work that needed doing. I have a lot of addictions that needed to be left. I needed to move out of my parents' house. I needed a better job that paid more. I had a lot of stuff that needed to be done, before I could be happy with myself, and therefore give anything to anybody else. And I could agree with that advice. It's pretty much good advice, especially before going out there and starting, long-term relationships with people. Luckily, even though my wife don't agree on everything, she is a strong-minded individual who certainly doesn't fall for any bullshit, especially not from the government or the media. So I'm happy with that. And I found it's when I was happy with myself is when God brought somebody into my life. You know what I mean? And it's, the timing just seemed a little bit impeccable. And even she says that herself. The timing of it all just seems so strange, even for her own life. So who knows? Maybe God has a plan for all of us in that respect, and just be patient and don't dwell on it if anyone's worried about that part of their life. It's always typical when you're not looking is usually when things turn up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely right, guys. Well, we're going for an hour and a half, roughly, give or take, and we alluded to it earlier. But I suppose now we're late into the podcast. Let's try and talk about this a little bit. But what do you guys think of the list that got released?
Oh man, I think the funniest thing about, I mean, there's nothing funny about it, but it blew my mind that Stephen Hawking,
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking was on the list, and I just keep like imagining him like on his little chair, like let me go, I want to go, So just like what could he possibly be, like what, like you know what I mean? Like he's handicapped, like he couldn't even move. So I just thought that was a trip, and all the memes that have been coming out. But there's a lot of like, I think Whoopi Goldberg was on there. I think Jimmy Kimmel was on there. A lot of people were on there. Chris Tucker, Leonardo DiCaprio, like. And the thing is, we already seen the other flight, because I think this is the Maxwell logs, but we saw the Epstein logs. But like, even though we know a lot of these actors are on there, we still, even me sometimes I forget, we still watch their movies. We're still watching them. Like we have to like somehow just not support this stuff. Like it's like subconsciously we watch their movies still sometimes. We just like completely, are we that desensitized that we still watch their movies knowing that these people are sick and evil? You know what I mean? We have to stop like supporting this garbage too at the same time. Like, do you know, we all know Disney's a big old bunch of weirdos, you know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I still get caught up watching a Marvel movie. Like I'm supporting it, we have to like somehow, I'm not saying I'm having a hard time doing it myself. I love entertainment. I grew up watching movies and playing video games, but we have to stop supporting it, I think, somehow, some way.
I mean, it is disheartening when you see all these names of these famous people that you have kind of watched your entire life, that they're involved in the most heinous of acts, basically. I mean, personally, I don't watch TV. I don't really watch films either. I never really have been a follower of that. I can't really remember the last time I actually like watched any like major film. I think when I do watch them now, I know why I'm watching them. I'm not watching them to enjoy them. I'm watching them because I'm trying to figure out what they're really trying to say or what they've put in there. You know what I mean? I watch them more as an analytic type thing when I do watch a film. I remember watching Loki recently. Speaking of Marvel, the Loki
Oh yeah, I
series.
watched it. I watched both the seasons, like I said, and I said I
Yeah.
get.
But I was analyzing it the whole time. Like, what are they showing in here? What are they trying to get at? And when they showed Loki being the one who creates the world tree of is, at the end of time, and I was like, I recognize all of that symbolism right there because I've done the study into all that mythology. It's kind of like, so now basically Satan's the god of all time in our realm, according to Marvel. It's basically it.
Yeah. He's sitting on a big old throne with horns. Like the horns grew big too. I was happy. I was like, look at this, man.
Yeah, and he controls all the timelines, doesn't he? And I bet the Mandela effectors would go crazy at that one if they actually watched it and understood what he was saying. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when I watch TV now, I can't watch it. I don't watch it because I care about the actors. I don't watch it because I idolize anybody, or I don't watch it because I necessarily think it's good TV either. I watch them because it's like, what are they doing? I mean, it wasn't something just released recently in America about basically like an end of the world event. What was it called? Everyone's been going on about it recently.
Leave the world behind.
Leave the world behind. Yeah.
Cyber attack. Yeah, cyber attack.
I haven't watched it. What is it? What's going on there?
Don't talk about it. It's about cyber thing.
Yeah, there's some sort of attack on the U.S. United States, some kind of EMP pulse weapon.
Right.
That knocks all communications off. So when you imagine this, we imagine people in this modern world with no electricity, no cell phones, no a big piece of their modern life is taken away. People, you got stuff that's refrigerated, you got food, you got all these different things that have to do with having the electricity. You take that away for weeks and months. Could you imagine the chaos that would ensue?
I can have a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, basically that's what the movie's about, and it shows how these self-driving Teslas start heading to the freeway and start smashing into each other. Because everything is programmed. It's an attack. They're attacking the EVs. These things are driving wildly, just smashing into each other. creating log jams everywhere. And the guy that was associated with this movie, it was the former president Obama.
So how was he involved? What was going on there? Because everyone's saying he's involved with all of this.
He was, I think, from what I understand, he was like an advisor to the movie.
What was he advising exactly? What was he trying to say? Because from what I gathered from my cursory glance at all of this and what people have said, it is literally hinting that it was an attack from within. This was done to the people by the government in some way in the fiction of the show itself. And it's like you don't actually need to do anything. You can make the people just destroy themselves as long as you take away all the power and make them think there's been an attack of some kind from an outside force. Was that basically the gist of it all? I mean, why would Obama advise on this? What was his advice? Has he experienced a world where everybody suddenly doesn't trust each other because there's no technology? Like, can you try and square this for me? Because I maybe from England I'm naive. I don't understand. If is there some sort of weird political American thing going on that people could relate to in that respect? I mean, what does Obama have to do with this?
He's just a producer and he funded it. I mean, but Obama's a big old like what is he? Isn't he like Islamic too? I believe he's a Muslim. So in the movie too, they're also dropping like these there's like a drone that drops off all these little red pieces of paper, and then on the pieces of paper it has like this symbol that means death to America. On the back is a bunch of Islamic writing on it. So that's another thing that they put in the movie, a little hint. And then there's another little hint where the brother and the sister are wearing two shirts. One is the brand called Obey, and the other one was NASA. They were standing together and it said Obey NASA. That was another little Easter egg they put in there. And basically trust, the science. You know what I mean? Just saying, that's what I saw there. Trust NASA. So they had that in there, and then what else did they put in that movie? They put a bunch of stuff in there. Trying to remember now. Oh man! But yeah, I remember at the end of the movie, I think they got nuked. At the end of the movie, nuclear war started happening. At the end of the movie, it's hinting that nuclear war is next. So yeah, so they hacked it. I remember the movie. Not only did the power go off, the enemy was hacking them, and they were, like I said, like Dominic said, they were hacking the Teslas to go crazy and block the roads so you can't get out of the city. And I believe at the end they hacked the nuclear codes and started nuking each other. America started nuking itself.
All right. So what do you think this is? Do you think this is predictive programming for future
Oh yeah,
events, or is this?
absolutely 100% predictive programming? I think.
You think something like this is going to happen in America?
I think so. I think everywhere. It can happen everywhere. It already happens all the time in other countries. They got power outages all the time. But I do believe that, yeah, America's gonna fall. I mean, no nation survives forever. I mean, look at all the rubble around the world. Look at ancient Greece. Look at Rome. No matter how powerful a nation was, they all fall eventually, and they all fall when they fall away from God. So America's definitely falling away from God. I mean, just imagine living in another country. You're living in another country and you're watching the American news, and you're seeing all this sick stuff. Men can use the girls' bathroom, and then little kids are getting sex changes. Just think about looking at America from the outside world. We are like literally like Babylon, the epitome of where all the garbage comes from. Does that make any sense? With the media, the ideologies we have, we're like the epicenter of like spreading just this mental diseases. I don't know what to call it, man, but it's changing people's thoughts. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Got,
I mean,
got naked dudes running around in the street for Pride Week around little kids. I mean, and no one bats an eye. And if you do say something about it, you're homophobic or you're whatever. You're just another Christian. Stuff like that.
Just another bigot. Just another bigot
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem like the stuff that is happening, not even just in America, most of the Western Hemisphere, I'd say. England as well, Europe, and Canada, Australia probably. I think Australia are a bit more based than the rest of the world, though. I think it's harder to get them to conform to this type of stuff. But what is happening is pretty much signs of the collapse of an empire. I'm pretty sure this is what it was like in Rome before it collapsed.
Yep.
A lot of this stuff was going on, you know. But at the same time, because we know there are these agendas at play for people behind the scenes pulling the strings, these cabals, it makes you wonder that what's the real game here? Are they actually going to switch everything off, or they just want the thought and the fear that they could do that to be implanted into everybody? You know what I mean? That edge of the seat,
Oh,
survival mode constantly in the brain thing. Is it just another piece of propaganda to keep people on the edge of fear all the time? You know, because I feel like they still have a lot of things they want to roll out yet before they pull that kind of game. You know, I think there's a lot.
that too, but I mean, they are building millions and billions and millions of dollars of underground bunkers. I mean, I don't think they're doing that for no reason.
Oh yeah, that's a thing right now, isn't it? It's like
Uh,
billionaires are all building bunkers all of a sudden.
yeah. So, I mean, I don't think anybody does stuff like that for no reason, especially if you have an insight of what's usually happening. I mean, you can look at different things to see what's going to happen, like the stock market changing, stuff like that. So, I do believe they know something. Like, for example, before COVID hit, a lot of people pulled out of their stocks in the major stocks. They knew it was going to happen a couple of days before. People know stuff, and I don't know how they know, but they know. And like I said, I don't think anybody spends that much money on a bunker if it's just a if. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do think it will happen, and we don't know how things are going to play out. You know, this they could shut off the power and the internet for a month, and that'll be enough to destroy a lot of things. You know, it doesn't have to take that long. And you know, we have technology to rebuild. And just like Hawaii got burned down. I don't care what anybody says, whether it's a conspiracy or not. They're rebuilding it into a 15-minute city where it got burnt. That's how fast it was. The fire was that fast, and they're already planning on building an AI city.
Yeah.
Little reset. It's a little preview of a little reset. What they're doing right there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
In order to imply their stuff, they're gonna have to do something like that to get it in. Because if they try to do it right now, most of us are gonna fight against it. We're gonna be out in the streets with our guns. And no, you're not doing this, but if you can just distract us with starving people and civil war and fighting for a bottle of water, yeah, they can easily distract us with that. And then, like you said, it's population control. They have to shorten the population to get the control. You know what I mean? That's what I think.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing, isn't it? But for people who don't know, me and Lionel were talking before this started about the core tenets behind Gnostic thinking, and how it actually is where we get most of the woke ideology from in its original form. We're talking going all the way back to the 2nd century here. This type of ideologies that men should become women and women should become men, and as soon as mankind does this and becomes one once more, we're closer to the divine being we once used to be before the evil demiurge split us apart. You know, so transgenderism is an ancient Gnostic doctrine. You know, and the whole Georgia Guidestone's idea of culling the population by 7.5 billion people to get it under 500 million. That's also based on a Gnostic idea that human consciousness, which is one, is weaker when it's spread out among multiple people. The less people the consciousness is more concentrated into, the more powerful those individuals are. So they believe killing people is for the greater good of humanity in a very literal spiritual sense. It will make mankind better. They believe birth is evil. They believe making new humans only makes the human race weaker, in a very literal sense, you know.
Yeah.
So that justifies the world we live in currently, pro-abortion, you know what I mean? Make sure no more life, anti-life agendas, anti-life lifestyles, shall we, if you want to call it anything, you know what I mean? And then the multicolored collective is pushing that hard. But you find all this wokeness and this agenda behind it and everything that comes with it is an ancient doctrine rooted in Gnosticism. It's evil. It's a truly evil, moral relativistic doctrine that has its many forms. It's like the Thing, you know what I mean, from the movie. It can shapeshift to take many forms, and it's like a parasite that latches onto other thought processes and makes it its own. It's very evil. Anyway, I'm going to get somebody on to talk about that next Saturday and do a full presentation on
Nice.
it. But yeah, so that's to look forward to. But yeah, the whole population control thing, That's definitely a real agenda. And weren't the Georgia Guidestones destroyed like a year ago?
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Yes, they.
And they love doing that, don't they? When they plan on finally fulfilling their agenda, you know what I mean? They create the thing and then destroy the thing. So yeah, something's coming definitely, but I don't know. I do feel like there's more to unfold yet. I'm not a date setter or a doomsday predictor myself personally. I always wonder, because I remember people saying the end was coming a decade ago. They were adamant 2012 was going to be the time, and the date was always shifting to the next year.
Yeah.
So, and here we are, and the agenda's still trucking along, and more surprises keep turning up. So I don't know what to think about all that type of thing. I mean, I don't know if you guys have covered any of this yet, but have you considered the whole Millennial Kingdom thing yet?
Um, Dominic has with Gary Wayne, but he wants to go use the restroom right now. Dominic, are you getting like that buzzing sound, Paul, in your headphones?
I am not. Do you hear this?
Yes.
Okay, so this happened on yesterday's live stream. My microphone has switched back to the to this thing. It's the headphone
I
one.
could barely hear you sometimes. It's going bzzz, like really loud.
Yeah,
Now,
sorry.
now it stopped. Now it stopped.
I can fix it. Bear with me. So, settings, microphone. Yeah, if for some reason it automatically switches off my MacBook microphone and switches to this on its own, and I've got to
I
switch
can
it. I've got to
I
switch
know.
it back. So there we go. Switch back. It should be better now. Should be sorted.
Wow. Night and day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Something to do with Skype. Skype just does that. I have no idea why. But the guys who are listening live, they won't hear any of that problem. They're going through different channels, so it should be fine for them. But yeah, I think we've covered a lot of things there. I'm just wondering, is there any particular topic right now you are sinking your teeth into as like a study section? Is there something you particularly want to share with the audience, or something that's just been rattling
Um,
around your brain that you want to hash out?
maybe. I mean, nothing right now. I've just been curious about that whole Nephilim thing at the Miami Mall. I mean, that I'm really curious about what's going on with the war in Israel and the Palestine people popping up out of America. Like it's crazy how many people are just turning into Muslims now. It's like the cool thing to do. I see, because I'm a boxing fan. I see a lot of the famous boxers. A lot of famous boxers are just becoming Muslims. A lot of actors are becoming Muslims. It's like going to the black community also too, like a wave. All the black people are converting to be Muslims, and as far as I'm concerned, the Quran is Christians are enemies to the Muslims. So I think it's not a coincidence that America is turning into like an Islamic kind of religious takeover. So I thought that's interesting. That's what I've been pretty much looking into.
Yeah, that's a very contentious subject. Funnily enough, again, the guy I'm getting on next weekend is going to talk about Islam as well.
Also, the way Dominic's here, if you want to ask about that millennial reign thing, he's the one that could.
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, Dom, I was just asking if you guys have in any way, shape, or form thought about or discussed the whole preterism, millennial kingdom has already come and gone topic. Is that something you've got into yet?
Hold on, right there. Go ahead.
The millennial reign, that is something that we discussed with Gary Wayne. We did a 5-part series titled "The End of the Age."
Yeah.
Go through the beginnings of the birth pains all the way through the millennial reign. What this period is, it's a time when there will be no more oceans, but there will be a river in the kingdom of God that's going to descend from heaven. There's going to be trees that you eat from. Tree of life will be there. God will sit there on a throne, and Satan will be will be restrained at that time, and people will rule with God for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the 1,000 years, you see in Revelation, it's in chronological order, that Satan will be loosed again on the earth. So for a lot of people, it doesn't make any sense. Why would God come down in this big I don't know if it's a cube or a pyramid coming down from the sky and rule for 1,000 years, and then Satan comes back? It's kind of hard to grasp, but then again, we don't understand everything God says. But Revelation clearly says that he'll be loosed again. And this time he's going to be put down forever. And that'll be the millennium kingdom. We'll rule forever and ever and ever with Christ after that. So the 1,000 years is just a prelude for eternity.
Yeah.
I know some people have a different thoughts. Some people, they don't buy into the millennial reign. They think it's a time that's now, or I don't know. It's just so many weird beliefs and the interpretations of Revelation, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense to me when people talk about the millennial reign. And for the most part, not very many get into the millennial reign because they can't tie it into their own belief, their own thinking of what Revelation is.
Mm-hmm.
And they always avoid the millennial reign. But that's basically it, man. I mean, you're gonna have the, and this is another thing that gets me, these people today, man. They talk about the war going on in the Middle East right now. They talk about, oh, this is Armageddon. This is the end of the world. Dude, stop it. This is not the war of Gog and Magog. Just stop it. If they truly understand the Bible, they will know that before any of this happens, the two witnesses will show up. They will be on the earth before you even get to the Gog war. That's why I mean, I'm not going to name some of these people because, because my circles, but the stuff they put out is nonsense. This is not the Gog and Magog war in the Middle East right now.
I'm pretty sure. Just to stop you there, I'm pretty sure the Gog-Magog war doesn't happen till the very end of Satan's little reign after the millennial reign. So to mention that has happening now in terms of the war between Israel and Gog and Magog, that does seem a bit strange to me to make that comparison, because I'm pretty sure it says, Satan's loose for a little season. He gathers an army out of the peoples of the earth, the number of which is like the sand of the sea. And then he surrounds the camp of saints where Jesus is with the resurrected to make war with them. And then God rains fire down from heaven and destroys them all.
Yeah, that's
Gog and Magog. He gathers Gog and Magog to make war.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have the Joel 1 and 2 wars. Okay. You have a Gog war just before the midpoint of the first 7 years. You have two witnesses show up. They're killed. You have the abomination of desolation. You reach the midpoint. You reach a point of the war in heaven when the starry hosts are cast onto the earth. And there's war on the earth. Michael stands. The people of Israel, the remnant, they flee. Michael's fighting against the demons and his angels. Then you get after the midpoint, you get into the dry bones. People of long lost ages are coming out of the ground, out of the ocean, out of the deserts, out of the mountains. All these ancient people and warriors are being resurrected. That's the time of the dry bones.
Hey, really quick, guys, I got to go back to work, so I have to get off here, but Dominic is going to be on. All right, Paul?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for joining us, Lionel. I appreciate it.
I'm going to put his face right there. Thank you, guys. Unfortunately, I got to go to work. Bye, Paul. Thank you.
See you again. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, well, I mean, we won't go for much longer now, Dominic. Obviously, we've come to 1 hour 50. But the interesting thing about this whole topic of the millennial kingdom, I mean, I don't know, maybe this is a new rabbit hole for you to go into, because it's quite popular thought right now. It's a growing theory. And I have laid the theory out on my channel, but I really am not saying it's one way or the other. I'm not necessarily supporting the theory, but I'm hashing it out. But there's this idea going around that, so you've heard of Tartaria before, right? The whole Tartarian architecture theory about the old world architecture being from an ancient civilization, and then there's the mud flood that wiped out that ancient civilization, and we're kind of the reset people who inhabit the leftovers of that civilization. Have you heard of that before?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, the whole Tartarian topic. It became really, really, really big, didn't it, over the past like 3 years? It's been growing in movement, and there's loads of channels dedicated to talking about Tartaria and the hidden timeline and our false timeline and how we've been lied to about that. Well, some Christians have taken it to square this. It says, no, what you're witnessing there, that was the millennial reign, and it's come and gone. And we are now living in Satan's little season, and we have been deceived about the time we actually live in. And we're actually currently at the end of the little season. So, you were arguing there how this is Gog and Magog type of thing. Maybe it actually is Gog and Magog being gathered to make war with the camp of saints, if that's true, if the millennial reign already has come and gone. And obviously there's many arguments against this people make, and I've heard most of them now because I've made videos speculating on this idea. And again, it's fair arguments to make, like, where's the evidence for Jesus' reign, first of all? There was never a time on earth where everything was peace that we can find through human history. That's another argument I hear quite a lot. There's the idea that animals still kill each other, so that shouldn't be the case if the millennial reign has happened. And there's many arguments against it, but then at the same time, the argument for it would be, well, if this is Satan's little kingdom, none of that stuff would be true anymore. Animals will be killing each other again, and he would have covered up the history, so we don't actually know truly where we are in history. So the theory also comes along with the idea that 1,000 years has been added onto the timeline. So the year isn't actually currently 2024. It's actually 1,000, 400 and something, because the millennial reign ended after 1,000 years. Because the argument is that Christ came not that long after his crucifixion and resurrection. People predict it was around 70 AD when he actually immediately returned and everything happened. The mark of the beast, the abomination of desolation, all the signs and wonders, all the tribulation happened in the build-up to 70 AD. And then Christ returned, kingdom came down from heaven, the millennial reign was established. And then once that had finished, Satan's loosed, deceives everybody, the whole world, and hides the history of Christ ruling. So what do you think of that concept? Because if you haven't heard of it before, you are going to hear this theory in the next year or two. It's getting bigger. So what do you think of that now? Just hearing it from me.
I think it's a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
This Tartaria thing is a deception. Tartaria was just an ancient civilization. They can't pinpoint when it was.
No.
People come out with all these conjectures that, the millennial reign. I heard that before. The millennial reign already happened. Christ already came. This, and that. Okay. So where are the two witnesses at? When did they arrive? When were they blowing fire out of their mouth? All this stuff is just to lead people away from what the Bible truly says. Nothing in the Bible says that Christ came back at 70 AD. Nowhere does it say that. Nowhere does it say these conjectures that people are coming up with. It's the fallacy of man to come up with some nonsense like this. And I think whoever's behind this is promoting some type of deception surrounding Tartaria. I think Tartaria is fascinating, but for me, it's not like it's not going to change my paradigm what the Bible says. And I think a lot of it is to throw stuff out there in the world so that people can get off track of what the Bible says. Now, people, if you're listening to these theories, I'm telling you right now, in my opinion, Christ has not come back. There has been no millennial reign. Yes, Satan is still loosed on the earth. If you read in the Bible, I read in, I believe it's Job, Satan still has access to heaven. He's talking about Job, about testing Job. He's in, I believe it's Deuteronomy, the Council of Gods. Satan is still has access to heaven. He will not be thrown down from the heavens until I believe it's Revelation 12, when he's thrown onto the earth. I've gone through so many hours with Gary Wayne on this stuff that I can see how people can get confused into thinking these ideas, these crazy ideas about Tartaria, and I just, once again, I heard this before, that the millennial reign already happened, and that this is just cognitive dissonance. It's just nonsense. I can't believe how people can fall for that. What is Tartaria, anyways? What is it? What age was it? It was. I mean, you look at the megalithic structures around the world. They're probably the oldest structures that we know of. Probably even older than Göbekli Tepe and Huron Tepe.
Mm.
Okay, I did a show with Dr. Aaron Judkins, on Göbekli Tepe. This is stuff that so was Göbekli Tepe, was that part of Tartaria? With the ancient megalithic structure under the oceans, was that Tartaria? People, you can't fall into these rabbit holes. Just stay on course. Just stay what the Word of God says, and nowhere in there does it say that he came back. There's no writings from the fathers, from the I think it's the third or fourth century fathers. None of them wrote about Christ coming back. Tertullian, none of these guys talked about Christ coming back. He didn't come back and save the world. His kingdom wasn't on the earth. I mean, who started this?
Well, preterism, what it's called, has been around for decades and decades and decades and decades. There's many people who believe that we're in Sean's little season since the Bible was written. You know what I mean? This has been going on for a long time. I've just noticed there's been a huge resurgence of popularizing the idea in the past 3 or 4 years, especially in conspiracy circles. I mean, a lot of it's hinged on, biblically speaking, it says in Revelations 20 that after the millennial reign, Satan will be loose for a short season, and deceive the nations. So there's that. First of all, we could be in that season and deceived if that's the case. People have used all the Tartarian theories about orphan trains and other things, and the beautiful buildings and cathedrals that were built by people who didn't have the technology to build them. They say, so this must be the remnants of the millennial kingdom of Christ. That's why all these churches are everywhere and these huge buildings and cathedrals. This is from when Christ reigned on the earth. People say, well, they didn't have bathrooms or anything in these beautiful, huge mansions, so the people who lived during this time didn't need to defecate or urinate. So were they the saints in the glorified bodies of Jesus? And so the people have speculated based on a lot of the Tartarian stuff and tried to square it with, well, if it's not Tartary, then it must be millennial kingdom. So there's a lot of that going on. But also, biblically speaking as well, there are passages in the Bible where Jesus is saying to the people around him, I am coming back immediately. This generation will not pass away before I return. It says, flee whenever you're persecuted. I tell you now, you will not make it through all the cities of Israel before I return. So it sounded like Jesus himself was saying, my return is imminent, not in 2,000 years. So a lot of people have based it on that passage as well in the Bible. So biblically speaking, it's not unprecedented to say that there will be a time where people live, which is during the short season after the millennial reign. There will be a time like that. What they're arguing is, how do we know we're not those people? Do you get what I mean? So that's what it's really based on. I don't think people are necessarily stupid for considering it, considering just how controlled our history has been and how we know we've been lied to about a lot of things. But at the same time, there are a lot of signs and things happening right now which are indicating we are going or about to go through tribulation as well. So it's a bit of both. Do you get what I mean? And I'm not willing to disregard that the mark of the beast might be around the corner. Which a lot of people have argued is a good cover for that, isn't it? The Tartarian millennial reign stuff. It means people aren't ready or looking for things like the mark of the beast anymore because they think it's already happened. So again, I couldn't just throw it all out just because I'm not going to be fooled. So I mean that's the stuff I've heard. These are the general thought processes I've come across. I'm just wondering if you've heard any of it yet. Maybe it's something you might want to research, because I think you're going to get a lot more people asking you about this in the future. It's growing rapidly.
I think a lot of stuff that's said, it's misconstrued. You talked about the generation should not pass away. You're talking about the fig tree generation. When Christ says, This fig tree comes back to life, that generation shall not pass away. The fig tree represents Israel, the nation. When was the nation refounded? It was refounded around 1967. What's a generation in the Bible? 70 to 120 years. Which is somewhere in the year 2000, possibly 2037, 2050, 2060. That's what the Bible's talking about. This generation shall not pass. He's talking about Israel. He's talking about the fig tree generation. People misconstrue the Bible to get it to make sense on whatever they're thinking about Tartaria and this other crazy stuff. Now, I may get a lot of questions about Tartaria, and I don't care. I'm just going to shoot it down because it's a rabbit hole. There were no bathrooms back then. Well, there's a thing called outhouses.
Outhouses and buckets. I know. I know this. I've come back with that myself. This is what I mean. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm buying it, but this is gripping people, you know. And as a member of the community, it's not something I think we can easily ignore. Again, we need to hash out and have all the answers ready for people. And again, I've heard your argument there. Like you said, he was talking about the fig tree generation, but the counters would be something like, well, how do we know that where Israel is currently is the true Israel? So a lot of people believe America was actually the lands being talked about in the Old Testament, and we've been lied to about our geography as well. It's all been mixed up by the map makers, if you get what I mean. And what we're seeing unfold right now with Israel being made a nation is like all false. It's all a show, just to make it seem like we're living in the time of tribulation. But really, that's not at all the time we're actually living in, you know. And they're putting on a show to make it look like we're living in that time where Jesus is about to return, but that's not really the case. But again, the problem is with that kind of argument is, where do you end with that kind of line of reasoning? You know, it's convenient arguments, aren't they, to counter one another? And I just find the timing of this type of theory odd. It's happening during such a tumultuous time for the Middle East. Do you know what I mean? When this theory starts to take precedence as well. So I don't, you know, just saying.
Out there are just getting so confused. They're getting down these rabbit holes and just stay from all this nonsense. That's what it is. All a bunch of nonsense. When you see the two witnesses show up, then you know that you're entering into the 7-year tribulation. That is a fact. There's no recorded history that the two witnesses showed up after 70 AD. The fathers, the early fathers, church fathers didn't talk about the two witnesses coming. The Greeks, the Romans, nobody talked about two witnesses coming and blowing fire out of their mouth and destroying people, or causing the weather to change and doing all these miraculous wonders. These are the two witnesses. Is it Elijah and Moses? I don't know. It could be one of the two or both of them. I don't know. But people, if you really want to follow the Bible, just always remember this. Always watch for the two witnesses appearing. All this other stuff, for me, in my opinion, is a bunch of nonsense. And I get a headache just thinking about these theories about, you know, there's getting to people out there, for example, talking about the first world age that we just covered with Gary Wayne, that these angelic beings, that they're us from the future or the past, I should say, and they went off the world and they're us and they're our brothers and this and this and that. That is also another bunch of nonsense. The angels are a different creation. They are not the sons of Israel. We are the sons of Israel. God created the angels. We were created from the union of a man and a woman, and God breathed life into us, give us our spirit. I did a show with Gary Wayne on this, on the sons of God. Both agree that the angels are not our genetic brothers. They are not. We'll be adopted into the family of God as the sons and daughters of God. So when I hear people talking about, oh, extraterrestrials out there, there are space brothers, that's a bunch of, that's a bunch of nonsense. It really is. And this is what I'm getting to, all these crazy theories out there. I don't know if it's for people to sell their books or get out more YouTube shows, but a lot of stuff they put out there is a lot of new age Christian stuff. And I don't agree with it. I don't agree with a lot of these things they talk about. They're so predisposed to these interdimensional demons. That's all they talk about. That's all they talk about. All their shows is, oh, the alien showed up, or they in this and that. You know what? Okay, cool. But it's supposed to be a Christian podcast. Why don't you, instead of talking about these things all the time, talk about Christ. Talk about how what these things could possibly be. Because God created man and woman. God created man in His image, right? But when you look at these I keep saying extraterrestrial, but these interdimensional entities, they don't look like us, like a man. They have big heads, big bulbous heads. Some are reptilian. Some look like little blue rock monsters. Some are mantis. These are demons.
Oh yeah, hands down. I think it's funny. I think I remember seeing on that line of reasoning, the evolutionary theory. I think they're always showing images of how mankind is going to evolve in the future, and they always show man basically turning into something closer to a grey alien. Your eyes are going to get bigger to take in because of all the light you've been seeing from the screens. Your heads are going to get bigger and your necks are going to get more atrophied and thinner. Your bodies are going to get thinner and smaller because you don't need to use them as much anymore because technology will be doing things for you. You know what I mean? It kind of fits with what you're saying there, isn't it? This idea that, aliens are humanity from the future come back to tell us how to ascend and be like gods like them or something, you know what I mean? And they are actually showing like modern imagery through the evolutionary lie, you know what I mean, to explain how we will end up looking like that. So it does actually cooperate with what you're saying there, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, those are all theories on how humanity will look in the future.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It matches up with these lies that people, because I've heard this idea that, the aliens are us, we are them, we are all one in that respect, and they've come from the future to complete the loop and make us become them or something like that.
People got to stop listening to Timothy Alberino and his nonsense. He's one that talks about this stuff.
Timothy Alberino.
Our space brothers from the future.
Yeah.
They are us. No, he does. He does. I stopped listening to that guy over a year ago.
No, I've heard it all. I remember Timothy Alberino. I hear people make a lot of Indiana Jones 2.0 jokes about him as well, which I thought was quite funny.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just see him with this brand new hat, like Indiana Jones, like he was on some kind of trip.
Yeah, yeah. Right, right. Anyway. So there we go. I think we've talked about enough. I think we've gone for 2 hours now.
Dude, I gotta go, man. I'm still getting over a flu, man.
Yeah, you sound like you're going through it, man. But thanks for coming on and having a talk with me. It's been a good session, and I'll be listening to your podcast every now and then when I get the chance. I'll make sure to listen to the recent one with Gary Wayne too. But I appreciate this, and you take it easy, man. Go and get some rest.
You too, man. Thank you.
Okay, bye now.
Oh, you done, Prof?
Ooh. Okay, guys, can you hear me? I'm just checking the chat there if anyone can actually still hear what I'm saying. Yeah, sorry about the abrupt cut off there. I think Lionel wants sorry, yeah. Yeah, he just Dominic wanted to just quickly have a quick goodbye there and everything, but I'm back. He's not feeling very well from the sounds of it, and his co-host did explain he's had a bit of a flu lately, so I think he wants to go and lie down. I think he's tired. But yeah, guys, thanks for joining me for another therapy session. I'll be back next week with another guest. Who have I got? Who have I got booked in? Let me just check my calendar. I've got somebody booked in every Sunday now to do this with a different person from a different podcast every week. Who have I got next week? Let's see if I can't get it up. Oh, I've got Mark Steves from My Family Thinks I'm Crazy. He's going to come on. We're going to have a bit of back and forth about his journey and how he got into what he got into. I don't think Mark's a Christian. I think he's got a bit of a different take on everything, which is fair enough. Again, I'm open to have people with different opinions on here. No problem at all for me. So yeah, it'll be interesting to have Mark on next week. We'll have a bit of a conversation, see what's going down. Don't know why. Oh, sorry. Skype just sent me a video of what we just talked about on a separate thing. I wonder why that beeps. Yeah, so Mark Steve next week. And then after that, I am on somebody else's podcast called Strange O'Clock. That one should be fun as well. I'll be streaming that straight to my channel. And then on the 28th, I've got Jesse Spots. And just a little announcement if anybody is still around right now who's interested as well. I have arranged a talk with Shelley from There's No Place Like Home to get into this Millennial Kingdom, Millennial Reign topic a bit more. Okay, so I know you guys are going to enjoy that talk. I know it's been requested. And obviously, me and her have been trying to figure this out for a couple of weeks now, but with the holiday season coming, it just got a bit sidetracked. But now we have officially arranged for the 27th of January. Me and Shelley are going to get together on a live show and we're going to talk about the Millennial Kingdom and all the evidence around it, all the passages, all the verses involved, and the theories on who we are, how the resurrections would work if this was true. We're going to get into all of it, okay? Me and Shelley are going to hash it out together, and I'm sure that'll bring a lot of backlash and a lot of hate, absolutely. But yeah, we are going to discuss that with Shelley. So there you go, guys. A bit of a update for you. And next Saturday, the 13th, I have a YouTuber called Lloyd De Jong, and he is an excellent researcher. He is a Christian. He's based in, I think he comes from a Muslim background originally, but he lives in, I think it's in Poland. But he is a Christian. I think he's a church-going Christian though. I'm not 100% which denomination, but it's irrelevant because this guy has done some fantastic work and presentations exposing Gnosticism and just corrupt theologies throughout history. And he's done some amazing work on it. He's just a wealth of information, history, and knowledge, and he has all these PowerPoint presentations just showing everything to do with how Gnosticism is absolute nonsense and where it comes from, and how pernicious and evil the ideology truly is, and what its core tenets truly are, and how everybody who is under the influence of Gnosticism is truly, truly into some really dark, dark stuff. And he's going to come on next Saturday on the 13th, and he's going to lay it all out as clear as day for us all. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. But yeah, guys, that's what's coming up soon. Let me just quickly check the chat to see who we've got. We've got Kanga Kong, thanks for being here. Drunk Wedding Photographer, thanks for being here. All the mods, thank you as always. Lloyd loves Israel. Yeah. Again, I don't care much about his theology on those things. The guy's done some great research on Gnosticism and its roots and where it comes from, so we're going to let him speak about that, okay? Again, that's fair enough for me. It's not a salvation issue as far as I'm concerned, right, when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah, again, I'm trying to reach out and get more guests on the channel so we can hash things out. But you've got to remember, guys, not everybody believes everything the same. Everybody comes at things from different angles. Everybody has different beliefs when it comes to theology, especially when it comes to Christianity. There are plenty of denominations that people fit into, okay? So we've got to be respectful, all right, irregardless. Just because, as someone said, the Lloyd loves Israel doesn't mean he doesn't have a lot of information on things like Gnosticism that are worthy of listening to. It doesn't mean he's not a smart guy, all right? And so yeah, we've got to be open to these things. Those outhouses, the clowns. Again, guys, let's keep it respectful, okay? Kanga Kong, I'm using castor oil on a bump in my dog's eye, and the vets didn't help with. After daily application, it's almost gone. That's good to know, Kanga. Castor oil. I'll look into that one myself. I see. I'm getting into all the herbal remedies for things lately. I'm drinking like 3 cups of green tea a day in the hopes it can chelate the iron out of my system. I've heard some good results from some other studies that have been done using it, and it seems to be more effective than the pills they give people for the purpose. And also, I would like to start doing parasite cleanses. Um, but I'm highly dubious of a lot of suggestions people give me about taking things like borax, for example, which I'm pretty sure is like an industrial strength cleaner of some kind. I feel like I have to do a lot more research before I let anything else into my body before doing anything like that. But yeah, I'm going to start looking into herbal remedies and fixes to try and cleanse my body of all the nasty stuff. This health scare I've had recently with the hemochromatosis and the possible shortening of life due to liver problems has really kicked me into gear of actually taking health seriously and what I eat seriously. There's nothing like an oceanic moment of the fear of death to put you into a health kick, is there? But yeah, I'm gonna start looking into more health stuff, and I know we have a full section on the Telegram dedicated to health, where people share a lot of things on there. So maybe that's a good place if anyone wants to give any suggestions. Come join the Telegram and share any insight you have into parasite cleansing and safe medications to take. That won't cause any damage to my internal organs, please. Yeah. What else is going here? Paul, I've done really good herbal parasite cleanse. I'll send you the info, says Wendy. Excellent, Wendy. I appreciate that. Paul, just do a dry fast for 3 days. It's free and easy and will fix your DNA. Well, I do intermittent fasting. I stop eating at roughly about 5 p.m. and I don't eat again until about midday or 11 a.m. the next day. And that's something I've been doing now for the past 2 weeks. And I've been taking again herbal tea every day, 3 times a day, green tea 3 times a day to get the iron down. And I've also been taking milk thistle supplement as well, which also is supposed to be a great iron chelator and preventing the absorption of more iron. Because if you didn't know, guys, that's my problem. My body does not break it down. It just keeps storing it and storing it and storing it until tiny clumps of metal form in my organs and cause severe irreversible damage. And that's my problem. So I need to remove iron. I have way too much. It's not the same as anemia. It's the complete opposite. In fact, I would say it's a lot worse as well, to be honest. But I'm working on that through herbal means. So any other herbal means for any other thing would be great. But fasting is definitely helping me lose weight because that's something I need to do as well. I packed on a few pounds since I quit my job at Aldi and started being a YouTuber and a photographer. So that needs to come down. I need to lose at least 2 stone to be at a healthy weight, I would say. Yeah, so intermittent fasting is the way I do that. I actually like intermittent fasting. I feel better for it every time I do it. Um, and I'd recommend anybody to do it. To be honest, it is good for you. It works. It does clear. It helps you think more clear as well. And it's a free way to lose weight. You don't have to sign up to some expensive dietary plan or some expensive gym if you don't want to. The best cure for losing weight is to stop eating. It's as simple as that. Then it's not as bad as you think it is. It's not as dangerous as you think it is, as people would make it out to be. It's actually very beneficial for your health if you go periods of time without putting stuff in your body. Except for water, of course. Drink plenty of water. There's nothing wrong with that. Was going to recommend monk fruit sweetener, but side effects are strokes and heart attacks. That's what a lot of like personal trainers recommend monk fruit to people who are dieting, don't they? Because it's super sweet and it's got no calories and things like that. My mother-in-law was just talking about monk fruit. I'm sure Keely's listening right now, and I'm sure she'll remember that being mentioned. But as an alternative to to sugar. Yeah, monk fruit apparently is the way to go. That's what she was saying. And now you've just told me it causes severe problems. So yeah. Again, forget the fads, just fast is what I found is the best way to do it. I do feel up for eventually, because I do intermittent fasting, I'm used to long fasts, like 20-hour periods, 21, 22-hour periods, and a 2-hour eating window. I do feel like sometimes once I've done it for long enough, I do feel the urge to just go a full 3 days without eating anything. Because once you get past the first hurdle, like the first day, it gets easier because your body's used to it. You're in that state now where you don't need the food anymore because it's just burning all the calories straight from the fat stores. And maybe I do need to do a 3-day fast straight. Maybe that should come up soon. Now the holiday season's passed and it might be easier to do. I'm not sure. Fasting and praying will spiritually boost you and create breakthroughs. I pray every day, Art. You know, I feel like I'm constantly in prayer mode no matter what. But I appreciate that, yeah, absolutely. And obviously reading the word as well is always good. So we got DVN ZXL here talking about 666 years were added from 1776. The millennial reign was 110 to 1100 before 110. There was 40 years of tribulation from 70 AD. Interesting. Paul, you should get into lifting. Extremely good for the body, mind, and soul. Well, my old job used to involve a lot of heavy lifting, to be honest, and maybe lacking that currently is what's causing a lot of my health problems. Who knows? You know. Yeah, I know. I do need. I'm gonna join the gym again soon. It's just the issue is right now because of the hemochromatosis. I'm in a constant state of extreme fatigue. Like I struggle to get up off the ground once I'm down. My joints are all in extreme agony because of the iron that's in them, like the metal that's there. And I wake up every morning unable to move for the first half an hour. I have to kind of like psych myself up just to try and sit up, and then eventually I loosen up enough to be able to kind of actually do anything. And it's not just the joint pain, it's I don't actually have any energy. I wake up in the morning feeling like I've ran a marathon and I'm running off like 3% battery power. And so lifting for me right now would be an extremely arduous task, like extremely difficult. And this is why my production of videos has slowed down quite a lot. Like I don't have the energy or the time in me in the day in between looking after a toddler and just doing the daily routine of what needs to be done to sit down and plan out a video and write the script and then do the script and then sit there for 5 hours editing and all that type of thing to get the images to it. I'm finding it very difficult because it comes with a lot of brain fog as well. This illness, like because I have iron physically in my organs, my brain included, and I don't feel like I'm not 100%. You know what I mean? So to make my life easier, I'm doing these long live shows and then I'm cutting clips out of them and re-uploading them as videos instead right now. And that's my way of kind of still producing content, which because not everyone watches a live show, only about I have 30,000 subs and I only get about 2 to 4,000 views on these lives. So not everyone sees the information I share or the things we talk about, so I take my chance to make a separate video for that reason. So I'm sorry for those of you who are listening to the same things over and over again. But it's just kind of the only thing I can do right now. Like I'm not trying to be annoying or I normally before this all kicked in, I was making fresh videos every single day, but I just don't have the energy to do that right now. So please forgive me for that. We need you, Paul. Please take care of yourself, says Drunk Wedding Photographer. I'm trying to take care of myself. I'm taking all the right steps. What is the British Guys channel? The other guys are jealous of British dudes' knowledge. The other guys are boring. I don't know at what point Chris is listening to this podcast. But you're on the British guy's channel now. I don't know when he's going to see that message, if he's even listening. I don't know. Someone should tell him. Thank you, Paul. EMF radiation can cause your condition. It's responsible for many illnesses. Well, it's a genetic marker which I've been carrying my entire life, and it's activated over the past 5 years at some point. I have blood tests from 2017, which show how my iron was going up then above normal ranges. So in the past 8 to 9 years or something like that, 7 to 8 years perhaps, that's when it activated, and that's when my body began to store too much iron. Everything I've looked into about this condition, it really is something people generally tend to suffer from in the 40s and onwards. I've just caught mine early, and it seems to have hit me earlier than it does most people. But it is just a genetic marker that I carry, and my son will now carry it too. And depending on whether or not Keely has it too, will depend on whether or not my son will get it. Both parents have to have it in order for it to activate in their children. So both my parents had it, and when they came together, I inherited the defaulting gene. They don't have the condition because both their parents didn't have it, but they were carriers. But they didn't get both genes within them. It's how it works. It's really weird. And to get this right, even though I have it, there was still a 1 in 4 chance that it activates. So I'm that unlucky. Okay. Both my parents, first of all, had to have the condition, the markers, and then now I'm born with both the markers. I am now prone to get hemochromatosis, and even then, there was only a 25% chance it was even going to happen then, and it still happened. So, yeah, I don't think it's radiation poisoning. I think this is what's called the curse of the Celts. It's predominantly a white person problem. Black people get it too. All races can get it, but predominantly 95% of the time it's a white person problem. It's a Northern European issue. It's just something we seem to have inherited for somehow. It's one of those. And I'm not sure there have actually been cases where it gets deactivated. I think once it's on, it's on. There's not really much you can do about it, other than get your blood drained regularly. And I know for you American listeners out there, all you have to do is pay $90 and someone will do it for you. We can't do that in England. It's illegal. There's nowhere you can just go and pay to take your blood out of you. You have to go through the medical system. And it's a long, long, long waiting process. The NHS we have here is terrible. So I'm currently on the waiting list to get it all sorted. And I am kicking up a fuss every day, an opportunity I can get to get through further and further and further. I have sped up this process by at least 3 months, and I'm still at least 3 months away from getting anywhere. But it would have been 7. You know what I mean? That's how bad it is. Yeah. It's one of those. It's one of those. I think Paul is the British guy. Yes, it's me. It's not radiation poisoning. This is really not. This has nothing to do with radiation poisoning. Trust me. This is not that. Um, um, Perfect health is unlikely in a fallen world. Absolutely, yeah. Um, you're not poisoned. Don't bring placebo into your life. Believing you will be healed. I've been praying to be healed. And so far, it's not happened. But I do think the green tea I've been drinking daily is taking an effect. I think so. I'll have to find out when I actually get my blood taken again if it had any effect. But I did find a study where they got people to drink 3 cups of green tea every single day for a month. And they got the control group to take the medication that the doctors prescribe for the same amount for a month. And the people who drank green tea daily had a significantly larger decrease in iron ferritin levels than those who were taking the pill. And we're talking like they lost like over 1,000 in terms of levels of ferritin when the pill only took away about 600. I am currently at 1,300 from my last blood test a month ago. Healthy levels for me are below 300. So I need to lose 1,000 levels worth of ferritin in my blood before I'm at a healthy level. And hopefully this green tea can do something for me. It's supposed to pull iron out of the organs. It's one of the effects of the chemicals in there. So fingers crossed it's actually doing something while I'm waiting for my medical institutions to hurry up and actually do something about this. Yeah, my wife's going through her own thing as people in the chat there are realizing she's currently also on an extremely extraneous waiting list to find out if she possibly has bowel cancer. And they're not taking it very seriously. They're taking their sweet time to do any checks whatsoever. Honestly, the system is just failing us miserably right now. So we have to rely on ourselves right now to do something about this. But hopefully it's not the extreme case for both of us. Hopefully my organs aren't irreparably damaged by the time they get round to me. Fingers crossed. Yeah, my wife does have polycystic ovaries. We found out as well, but we're still waiting to get more information on that too. We don't know to what extent or anything, but a high blood count has shown that it's likely that that's what's going on. Yeah, she's changed her diet and everything. Honestly, we've become an incredibly healthy household now since all of this. Everything's whole wheat. All the rice is whole wheat. All the pasta is whole wheat. All the bread is whole wheat. We are using low fat everything, low sugar, low salt everything. I am literally just eating vegetables raw for lunch, and I have not touched refined sugar now in like 3 weeks for a while now. I've removed all sugar from everything. I haven't touched chocolate or sweets or anything all through the holiday season. Haven't had a single taste of it. I used to have one sugar in my coffee every morning, and I no longer have that. And I've actually got used to the taste of sugarless coffee now. I actually enjoy it. So everything's just changed. Our entire diet has just changed. We have switched. No more meat. We have no meat in this household. I eat nothing but vegetables instead. Um, I've completely cut meat out of my diet because meat has iron in it, and I can't have it. So I've essentially become a vegetarian. And it wasn't by choice. Like I enjoyed eating meat, you know what I mean. But I've now become a vegetarian. It seems. Today we had a korma with brown rice, and instead of chicken, we had cauliflower. And you know what? It was all right. It was all right. Oh, new horizons for Paul and his diet. Yeah, we've gone on a massive health overhaul in this household, and maybe it's for the best at the end of the day. Maybe that's what all this was for. It was to make us change our lifestyle and diets for the better. Maybe that was the agenda for all of this. Maybe God does have a plan. Who knows? but I should have done all this a long time ago. Clearly. Kylie's asking, does all the talk of Nephilim in popular media raise red flags for you? Absolutely, it does. Oh yeah, I don't trust the media as far as I can throw them. If they're talking about the Nephilim, there's a reason. You know, they're doing it on purpose. Absolutely. Red flags are firing off everywhere for me, Kylie. I'm telling you right now. my brain is alarm bells are ringing massively. They're up to something, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Mark my words, I am going to get to the bottom of why they're showing Nephilim everywhere now in mainstream media, and I bet the clowns have something to do with this, hands down. I watched one of your previous videos, and when you were breaking down the different types of Nephilim into their subcategories, that was fantastic, amazing. It had me thinking. Excellent. I'm glad you took something from that, Chris. I might do my own separate video where I specifically am breaking down the Nephilim more. Because, like I said, that was a clip from a live show. Maybe I should do an individual and explain the hierarchy and how it truly works from top to bottom. Because I've been piecing it together myself for years, and maybe I do need to make a map and actually draw it out. Chlorine dioxide solution is worth looking into, Paul, says Joanne. I'll look into it. I just found all your content like 3 months ago, and it's really strange for me personally seeing all this popping up in reality now. Yeah. Same. I feel for you, Paul, says Cheryl. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, ME, and fibromyalgia. Much pain and fatigue. My brain fog is considerable. Hard to function at the moment. Stressful situation. I'll keep you in my prayers. I'll keep you in my prayers too, Cheryl. That sounds horrible. I'm sorry. Go private. Go fund me. Mark, private is so expensive just to get the blood drained. For one session, private, it's like £800. I don't have that kind of money. I don't have that insurance. You know what I mean? And it could take 100 venisections just to get me down to healthy levels. It could take 9 months worth of going every week just to get me down to healthy levels. There's no way I can afford that private. You know, we're talking like 90 grand, if not more. It's just not going to happen. Like, I have to wait, unfortunately. It's a shame, but that's just the way it is. Do you mind repeating the Nephilim breakdown into subcategories? I'm not going to do it now because I'm coming to the end of the show, Chris. I've been talking for a while. But at your request, Chris, I will make a video specifically about that in the future. I'll promise you that. Okay, it's a good topic. In fact, I will get up I have a little document I use where I write down ideas for shows and stuff like that. And I will put it on my list of things to talk about. But it's currently below the Sandown Clown. I will write hierarchy of all Nephilim subtypes and angelic realm. There you go. So I'll make a video specifically about all of it for you, okay? But right now my show ideas, I have the 1980s clown kidnappings, Jake and Dinos Chapman, Grok the Clown linked to the Nazis from the 1940s. I've got Richard the Barber there with question marks after it. I've got advice on how to find God. I've got the New Age versus the Christians are getting out of hand. I've got shill hunting is a bad idea. I've got the different levels of demonic oppression. Magic versus tech. And the Sandown Clown. And now the hierarchy of the Nephilim for you there. So there's some show ideas I've got mulling around and in the works for the future. And I've added it to the list for you there, Chris. What else is going on? I will find a cure for hemochromatosis. Paul will be okay. Good luck to you. My hat's off to you, my friend. Please let me know if you find anything okay. I like the passion. Thank you, DBN. I am not currently undergoing phlebotomy, no, but that's what I need. Yeah, I'm waiting to get the phlebotomy. It's a bit of a pain. They make you jump through hoops just to get to that stage, and it's kind of a waiting game. Like, the longer they wait, the more potential damage I'm doing to my organs when I'm at this level. They have no urgency about them whatsoever. I don't think they're taking me seriously because I'm so young. They think everything will be okay. But my last blood results show that my liver's got something wrong with it. It's not okay. It's getting worse. It's got significantly worse from my last blood test. And I've told my doctor to expedite it, and I'm currently in the expedition process to get it all sped up so I get to see them quicker. But they aren't. They certainly are not acting like they're taking it seriously or being quick. Okay. It's been since the 29th, and I've still heard nothing. You know what I mean? Since everything was expedited. So I'm going to call them tomorrow and tell them to hurry the shit up. And I'm going to start kicking off again and making a huge fuss until they just take me in and get it sorted. Because I'll be damned if they're going to be the reason I don't get to see my child live to the age of 14. You know what I mean? Hell no. That's not happening. DVN. Make sure he eats lots of vitamin C rich foods. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to make that clear to you now, DVN. Vitamin C is my mortal enemy. Vitamin C makes me hold on to more iron. I have to make sure if I take vitamin C, it is hours after and hours before I eat. Otherwise, I will hold on to all the iron in food. I will retain more and it will cause more damage. Vitamin C is my enemy. It's my absolute enemy. Um, I know everyone's saying this out of love and they want to help though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like having a go. I'm just I'm educating, you know. I understand everyone has my best interest at heart. Believe me, I do understand. I understand. Chris, the guy who's shutting down your conversation about the millennial reign is a brainwashed mainstream Christian. He's completely lost. He doesn't want to change. Don't listen to him, says Chris. Look, Chris, everyone's entitled to their own opinion on this theory as far as I'm concerned. I'm certainly not going to stop my line of inquiry because he doesn't agree with it. But I respect him as an individual, and I'm certainly not going to disregard him and anything he has to say because of it. You know, um, again, everyone's allowed to have their own stance on this, as far as I'm concerned. It's not a salvation issue, in my eyes. Um, has there ever been a kid who liked clowns? I don't think so. No, I don't believe so. I believe no, there has. They are rare though. It's like 1 in 100, maybe. Um, I've been thinking about Richie the Christian Barber. Lol. Yeah, I don't know what to do about Richie because I'm not after attacking anybody. Again, I'm not a shill hunter. Um, but the guy is doing a lot of questionable things. He claims to be a Christian out of his mouth, but then at the same time, he's still getting tattoos and piercings done and stretching his nose and all sorts of horrible things to his body. And it's kind of, if you were truly repentant and born again, as he says, and filled with the Holy Spirit, you just wouldn't be doing that anymore. You know what I mean? And I think he's addicted to it. I think it's one of his addictions and vices he needs to get over and move on from. He still has a lot of work to do. He's a baby Christian, you know what I mean? He's just going through that fired up for God early stages of hyper zealous Christianity, and then he hasn't really actually done the work yet. And the works are changing yourself and stopping to do what you used to do, denying your flesh. And he hasn't done any of that yet, as far as I'm concerned. Um, who am I to say who isn't born again? Just because the guy looks like a clown from his previous life doesn't mean he's changed. He's not changed. I don't know. You know. Um, so I don't know. I don't want to throw around any accusations to the guy. Like he's clearly a troll who's possessed by a demon because he looks like a clown. I'm not that guy who's going to say that. I know a lot of people might say that though, but I don't know his heart. Only God does. And if the guy was in the past oppressed by a demonic entity, and which made him manifest and change his own body to look like it, so that's why he climbed himself up unknowingly, then I feel sorry for the guy, but God doesn't look at the outward appearance, he looks at what's going on in a man's heart at the end of the day. So I can only take it at that. But I do hope the guy snaps out of doing. He has a lot of work to do. He still has a long way to go. Okay, that's all I can really say about Richie. To try and be nice. Um, Still, he is tainting our good name. Fruits isn't looking good. Maybe that's why, Tommy. Yeah, yeah. You will defeat homochromatosis, just how you helped me defeat these Nephilim demons. I owe you. Well, dear Ven, keep praying for me. That's all I can ask. What's up with all the bears anyway? What do you mean bears? What bears? Do you mean this guy in the background here? This is just something we bought for my son when he was 1 year old, and it's just stayed here ever since in the corner of the couch. He doesn't even care about it. So why remove him from his home? This is where he belongs, and this is the best place for me to do my thing. So that's all the bear's about. It's nothing else. It's nothing. There's nothing sus about it. It's just look this cute little bear. It's very soft. He's got a funny shape to him. Doesn't mean anything. Um, I don't know what you're talking about. Bears everywhere. I'm not a Owen Benjamin follower or anything like that. I know who he is, but I won't call myself a member of the Bears or anything like that. It's literally just something that we thought was cute, which we bought for my son years ago. My son's name is Henry Arthur. Arthur means bear. That's what it means. So that's why we have these bears. Um, um, my mum bought it. Oh yeah, sorry, my mother-in-law bought this. Okay, for him, yeah. And we bought so many bears, I lose track, to be honest. Um, would EDTA help you to release iron? Have you searched that already? I don't know. Maybe. What is it? EDTA iron. Um, Iron chelation. Chelating agents. Maybe. Yeah. The issue is a lot of chelators, especially the chemical compound ones. They don't just take iron out of the blood, they take everything out, all the metals. And I don't want to end up deficient in something else by overdoing it on these chelators. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be careful with them. As far as I'm aware, peppermint green tea is mainly works on iron alone, which is why I'm going for it. It's heavy on iron. Um, but also doesn't EDTA stop iron deficiency from what I'm reading here? It is iron. EDTA is iron. Um, it's soluble iron. So I don't know. You've got to be careful. You got to be careful when taking any medication, which is why I'm sticking to herbal remedies right now, and which is why I just it's plain and simple. I just need to have my blood drained. That's the simple solution. That's all it takes. It's just getting there is a hassle. It's an absolute pain. Um, If you go down to the woods today. I used to love that song because we found this playlist of British nursery rhymes on Spotify, and it had the Teddy Bear's Picnic on there. And you know what? It slaps. It's really good. Like it was a really good version of Teddy Bear's Picnic, and it was stuck in my head for like 5 months when my son was just a baby. Like a fresh out the womb baby, just singing these songs on repeat. um, It's a chelation therapy. Would need a mineral supplement, yeah. DFT binds to excess iron in the body and forms insoluble complexes that can be excreted through urine. Considered safer than chelating agents like DFO and DFX. Interesting. Again, guys, I'm weary about taking too many drugs that have been formed in a lab. And like I said, from the study I actually was looking at, and a guy was it's doctor made this huge YouTube video about it, which I watched, and he says, in this study, all the people did was drink like Twinings green tea, just tea bags, not the specials loose leaves or anything, just straight up green tea bags. You know what I mean? And he said in the study, these people all they had to do was drink it 3 times a day, an hour after every meal, because if you drink it an hour after your meal, it joins with the food in your guts that's making its way, and it stops it from releasing iron through the barrier. It prevents iron absorption, but it also chelates the iron out of your body at the same time. So people did that for a month, and then they had another group of people with hemochromatosis who had high ferritin iron levels also take medication like what you're recommending here, just a pill, you know what I mean, that's been designed to do the same thing. And they found green tea had like 40% more effectiveness than the pill in the end results. So I'm going to stick to that for now until I get professional blood draining help, till I'm officially allowed to have my blood drained type of thing. That's what I'm going to be doing. Cilantro, chlorella, heavy metal chelators. I cannot stand cilantro. It tastes like soap to me. It's disgusting. I hate it. Do they do capsules of it instead or something like that? Maybe I'll take that instead. But honestly, I cannot stand coriander, as we call it in England. You call it cilantro in America. I cannot stand it. Um, use defroxamine mesylate. See, I don't know what that is. You're just saying words at me now, big long scientific words. Um, he hates cilantro with a passion. I'm not how I feel about that. Yeah, I would hate it. I'm sorry. It's foul. The smell and the taste of coriander makes me sick. It tastes like soap. It tastes like somebody's made me take a bite of a bar of soap. It's like someone's just popped open a shampoo bottle and just squirted it in my mouth. It's disgusting. I cannot stand cilantro. I, I can't eat curry because of it. Indian food is off limits because they put it in everything. Okay, except from a korma. If I make it myself, you know what I mean. It's on everything. They're obsessed with it, and it just ruins food for me. I cannot stand cilantro. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Um, I can't even add cilantro to food because he'll complain. Yeah, you're damn right I will. Um, There's actually a Facebook group called I Hate Cilantro or something like that. I think I'm a member. I think I'm a proud member from years ago. We still live. Yeah, I'm going on with this one for a little bit more. Why not? Why not? Nice little bonus section at the end here. I could always delete all of this, to be honest. I can always just remove all of this section and in the editing process afterwards. And I thought I'd stick around for a while and have a chat with the guys, see what's going on. Maybe he just needs a little detox to like it. Yeah, apparently after a long detox, um, the people like cilantro again. I've heard. I think Wendy recommended that last time. Um, maybe I need to do that 3 day fast that everyone's been talking about and see if I enjoy cilantro. My money is betting I won't though. I think it's gonna be hard to change a lifetime of of hate towards that particular thing. The only food I can't stand is hummus and sour cream on savory foods. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of hummus either, to be honest. The texture's disgusting too. That's good to know about the green tea also for people who need iron. Yeah, if you are iron deficient, do not drink green tea. Just don't do it. You'll be in danger. It's not good. Um, yeah. I love the dance scene back when I wasn't being nasty to your tattoo. What? Sorry, Joanna Doyle, you're gonna have to explain that comment to me. I have no idea what you just said or why. Uh, what tattoo? This one? On my arm? The one I got when I was 17 years old in a moment of rebellious angst. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a happy guy. I'm a smiling, happy person. I'm an optimist, so it does reflect a part of me in a way. Um, I forget it's there. I honestly forget I have the tattoo there, to be honest. And I don't plan on getting any more tattoos ever again in my entire life. Don't get me wrong, but there's not much I can do about these ones. But I love the dance scene back when I wasn't being nasty to your tattoo. Yeah, I don't know. What does that mean? What does that mean? You have to explain that to me. Um, Good night, all. How art thou, Paul? You're right, man. It's good to see you. CFR, I'm going to get you on my channel. I was on CFR Network on his podcast not so long ago. We had a great conversation, actually. It was just a nice back and forth about life and what it means to be somebody in this type of game, which is great. And I want to invite you onto my channel to do just that here in a Truth or Therapy session. How does that sound? So get in touch with me on Instagram chat or wherever it is you get in touch with me, and we'll book a date to get you on this one. All right, man? Yeah. It should be a good talk. We'll have some fun. Zeolites are great for heavy metal removal. Interesting. Natural product isolated from Streptomyces pilosus. Is that right? Streptomyces pilosus? I don't know if I said that. I have the cure. Okay. Unfortunately, you can only cure the symptoms. You can't. You can only help with the symptoms. You can't cure hemochromatosis. I don't think it doesn't work like that. But we can certainly help with the symptoms, absolutely, and get down the nasty effects. Um, I think that sentence has an autocorrect mistake. If something's going on. And Joanna's not helped me in any way. She says, I would get organic green tea if possible, maybe Clipper. Well, according to this study, just over the counter basic green tea bags did the job. So that's fine for me. It's good enough for me. It's good enough for them. It's good enough for me. I'll use that, okay? It's cheaper. Um, Gregorian New Year's greetings to all. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, my wife's there saying you can't cure yourself of hemochromatosis. No, all I can do is get my iron back down to normal levels and then maintain it. That's all I can do, and that I'll be safe then once I'm in that zone. Like it'll be all right, you know. But right now, while it's dangerously high, my organs are being damaged. That's what's happening currently. Until they get that ferritin back below 1,000, I'm in the danger zone. So I have to do everything I can currently to get it down. And green tea so far seems to be the safest and most effective thing to do it. So that's what I'm doing. Paul gets excess iron in his blood because he's a man of steel. Maybe someone was it drunk wedding photographer? Was it you saying you can call me Iron Man from now on? Yeah. So new nickname. You can call me Iron Man if you want. I'll take that one. Tattooing has iron. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Um, Most have to get the blood drained 4 times a year at least. Yeah. My wife's ferritin level is 41. She's anemic. Mine's 1,340 something. We're both extremes. Mullein leaf extract is excellent for respiratory health. It is actually mullein leaf. I used to smoke mullein leaf when I cut tobacco out. It's one of the things I switched to because I still smoked cannabis. I may have quit cigarettes and tobacco, but I still smoked cannabis. So I replaced the tobacco with mullein leaf. And you know what? It actually did help with the breathing quite a lot, significantly. It did have a positive effect on the lungs. It was quite surprising, actually. But then I quit cannabis, and then I haven't touched the stuff ever since. So, what's that been like 8 years now? Something like that. It's almost 6, 7 years since I quit cannabis or something. It's time's flown. Uh, yeah. Valp saying I don't know about it being incurable. It's not a disease. It's not something you can catch and then cure yourself of. It's a genetic condition. Like unless I go through the whole CRISPR technology stuff and change my genetics, this isn't getting cured. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go through that process of genetically modifying myself. This is it. This is my lot in life. This is what I have. This is it. There's nothing I can do to change that. Um, now that song's in my head, Iron Man. Yeah. Well, that's me. The injection is recommended by doctors. Interesting. Paul, I had hemochromatosis from hepatitis C when I was 45. I got a natural homeopathic doctor so I could get bloodletting. I had 22 pints of blood removed from me over a 6 month period. 1 pint a week. Yeah, that's what I need doing. I need to have my blood let every week for a long time to get my blood back down to normal levels. I am just waiting for the doctors to hurry themselves up and actually do it. Like they are taking their sweet time. That's the issue. But I know what the cure is. Don't worry. I'm on the way to getting it done. I don't have hepatitis though. So if your hemochromatosis was caused by hepatitis and you've cured yourself of hepatitis, then your hemochromatosis may disappear. Mine's genetic. There's different types of hemochromatosis. Mine is the worst type. It's the incurable, you've got it whether you like it or not type. Okay, that's the type I have. Um, it's like there's different types of diabetes, isn't there? You're born with it or you develop it. The born with it is incurable, but the developing it is could be made better. That's the difference here. Um, have you heard of Shilajit resin? It has more minerals than sea moss, many benefits. I just got my first one, haven't tried it yet, but heard good things. I've not heard of that one yet, so no. Um, the NHS is an absolute piss take. You're telling me. Me and my wife's podcast, the next one we're going to do is going to be about the NHS. Um, when we get time to record that, hopefully this Wednesday we'll record that. We can have that out by the end of next week. But we're going to talk about our experiences with it and how terrible it is for both of us, and also share some articles on just how stupid the NHS has become and how woke it's become and how anti-biology it's become and how just awful the system is now with and how all of that stuff. We're going to talk about it in the next podcast with me and my wife for Tales Under the Big Top. If you don't know about that podcast, links are in the description for this. It's just me and my wife's project, where we just talk, about stuff that annoys us. Basically, it's not as conspiratorial as my channel, but it's certainly fun. It's fun to get involved. Um, normal doctors would only let me do 1 or 2 pints. It was key to get a homeopathic or natural doctor to prescribe 1 pint a week for months to clean out my blood all the way. I'm in the UK. We don't have homeopathic doctors who can legally just take blood from you. Like, you have to go through the medical industry here in the UK. We have stricter laws on it. It's not like America. It really isn't like America. In America, you can just pay somebody 90 quid and they'll draw your blood for you. Like, we don't have that privilege here. It's illegal to do that. Like, no one's going to have a business doing that here. It's just, you're not allowed to do it unless you're a certified trained doctor within a practice, and you are the consultant within an institution who is authorized to do that thing. That's how it works. So unfortunately, I don't have the privilege that some Americans have when it comes to medical care. Hashtag clap for the NHS. Exactly. Yeah, we're going to talk about all of that. DVN. Get on the Tales Under the Big Top podcast with me and my wife. We're going to discuss all that stupid shit that happened. Honestly, all of it. Um, Pardon my French there, but as a British person, we get very passionate about the NHS and how awful it is. It's just one of those things. The thing is, Matt, once I've got my iron down to manageable levels, I will then go and donate blood myself regularly to stay on top of it myself. I'm not going to rely on them anymore to take my blood. I'm going to get my blood drawn very regularly from then on. Like you're suggesting there, get rid of all of it in order to make yourself healthier. Once I've got my blood down to manageable levels and I am legally allowed to give blood again, I will be going to them to get my blood drawn regularly on my own accord. That's what's going to happen. So yeah. Um, our healthcare is like a brothel in the US. The ones with the most money get the most service. Is that what you're saying? The people here in the States think the free healthcare there is the best. Honestly, both systems suck. They do. They're really bad. They're really bad. Yeah. The NHS doesn't have the resources to prevent illnesses. All it does is manage symptoms. That's all they can do. Um, they wait till you're ill or or already suffering, um, rather than do everything they can to prevent you from getting to that stage. It's such a backward system. Honestly, they don't know what. Yeah, I don't know. I can go on for hours about it. Um, I thought homeopathy was popular in the UK. I thought they had more things they could do because the Queen used homeopathy. No, healthcare is very strict here. Everything like that is restricted, hard, very hard. Um, no, no. If some random person who claimed to be a herbal healer started draining people's blood in their home, they would go to prison. Okay, they are not allowed to do that. It's typical British fashion. Have you got a license for that, mate? That's basically how they are here. You couldn't just invite people into your home and start sticking needles in them. You can't just do that. Okay, absolutely not. Um, no. Also, it's not free, Wendy. It just feels it. It all comes from our taxes. Yeah, we pay through the roof for the NHS, and they claim it's free, but it's not. They charge us so much money every month. That's why they call it sick care and not health care, exactly. Um, weren't they thinking of privatizing the NHS around Brexit or something? Yeah, I think there was talks about it, but honestly, it's such a politically charged part of our culture that even just simply humoring the idea of privatizing the NHS will cause a riot for a lot of people. It's stupid. People are clinging on to a dead horse here. They are. It's time to move on. I think we do need to seriously overhaul the entire system. I really do, because what we have is broken. It doesn't work. It's not saving lives at all anymore. It's a detriment to life, I would say. Um, NHS was set up by the Nazis. That's a new one. I've never heard that before, but I can believe you. But I've never heard that before. Operation Paperclip. Ever wondered what NHS actually stands for? Well, it says it's supposed to stand for National Health Service, right? I've been caused avoidable harm, and my grandson was caused brain damage by an MMR. Here it costs $10 per pint removed. Just get the prescription and go to the regular blood donation centre. You just donate blood 25 times. That is so cheap. No, we can't do that here. That's just, it's not a freedom we have. No. Is it much money to go to phlebotomy school? I mean, I suppose I could learn to stick a needle in my own arm and just drain the blood out of me myself. I suppose I could do that. I don't know. I feel like I don't have. I feel like I'd make a mess of it somehow. I don't think it'll work. Yeah, and privately it would cost £800 a time, and like I said, I'd need like 80 times to get it down. Ain't gonna happen. An old-fashioned barber would help. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, for one blood drawing, it's £1,000 private, just for one. Like, think about that. That's stupid. Go to a blood bank, donate your blood over and over. We don't have blood banks here. And they wouldn't take my blood anyway because it's got too much iron in it. That's the problem. It doesn't work like that. It costs 9,000 tuition fees per year to study in the UK. It does, yeah. So I'm not going to get myself into 27 grand worth of debt just to stick a needle in my arm. Absolutely not. My wife did offer to do it, yeah. I think I'd make a mess of it somehow. You lived in Germany during the mad cow disease. Oh dear. I bet there's a DIY video on YouTube University somewhere. Yeah, I bet you're right. Absolutely, how to phlebotomize yourself. Sure. Um, Hi John, thanks for joining. You're right, guys. I'm thinking I'm gonna call it a night now. Like I said, I've been going on for over 3 hours for this one. That's a new one. But I will likely trim this back down, so it's back down to 2 hours as it originally was. But we had a good time. We had a good talk, didn't we? There we go. Just getting to connect with the guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Like I said, I'm back on Saturday with another guest who's going to break down Gnosticism. And then on Sunday, I've got Mark Steves joining me to get trippy and weird about all sorts of things and all sorts of topics. So we'll be talking with him as well. And then next weekend, I've got more guests and more guests and more guests. It's just going to keep going, guys. It's going to go on forever. I'm going to keep getting guests coming in. It's never going to end. CFR Network, stay in touch with me if you're still here, and we'll get you booked in as well. Absolutely. Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, guys. And I think that's enough unsolicited medical advice from you guys. And I hope you've enjoyed my life stories and moanings for the past hour. But thanks for listening, everybody. And as always, God bless.